All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
How is everyone today? Dan, sorry you can't be here, but I hope you have a great time at your nephew's birthday.
Right? Yeah, I hope it's a blast.
So Voldemort, nature versus nurture.
Lord Voldemort,
It
the
was
one,
nature, he was a
the
psychopath,
only.
the end. All right, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time. Just kidding. I wish it was that simple. Looking it up, I realize how complicated it gets.
Voldemort?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not so cut and dry, is it?
Well, a lot of it kind of is, but when you put it all together, it starts to get kind of blurry.
And um it demonstrates how Rowling really thought it all through and made him not just simply the bad guy for the bad guy's sake. Hello, Ren. Welcome.
How's it going, Ren?
Ah, Lola, you have joined us.
Yeah, she always has to join us.
This is true.
Lola, how wonderful for you to come and experience the greatest stream of all time, where we are discussing the most powerful sorcerer in the world.
Hello, harmonic sound.
Welcome, welcome.
Do this just easier for me to see the chat. It's
Actually,
on this
easier
screen.
for me to see the chat.
Okay.
So that works out better. Hello, Chester from Hungary.
Jesta, welcome, welcome.
Oh, no, no biggie. We've had plenty of streams, but glad you made it to this one. Tis good. Tis good.
So we're just gonna give it a minute for everyone who wants to watch the stream to hop in here. But
And have some good
um,
Voldy discussion.
I don't know how you want to break it down, but as I was kind of doing this, I think we need to break it down into layers.
Fair. I'm just here to talk about Voldemort and the nature of his evil. So whatever way we want to do
I'm
that
just
is
saying
fine
to
with me.
understand his evil, I think we need to break it down into layers. Because Voldemort, he's like an ogre, like an onion. He has layers.
The
You have
evil,
to peel back each one to really get to the rotten center.
the rotten center of Tom Riddle Jr.
But in that, I think we need to first talk about these characters in the way of just viewing them as not magical wizards, but just as human beings. And the circumstances in which they were born into. Let her have her sneeze fit here.
Are you good? Good.
So, are you ready to start discussing, or did you want to give it a minute? Because
Hello,
I'm kind of
Melody.
gonna segue here
Oh,
into it.
Melody just popped in. I think we need
Melody,
to maybe
welcome.
just give it another couple minutes.
Okay,
Just another couple minutes, because you know people pop in a little late, which is fine.
was gonna be a
My
good
back
kind of
just
segue.
just I know you were going for a whole thing.
Yeah, it was.
I think you started too early.
I think I did.
Just because. Um Hi Katie. See, people are still popping up in here. So
Katie, good to see you.
I didn't think Katie was gonna miss this one. Just had a thought. A little hunch, like, we're gonna talk about Voldemort. She's not gonna miss this one. I'm sure she has lots to say about it. Um Volderoo, as it were.
Finish playing? Well, I haven't finished yet. I'm pretty deep into it at this point. I think I am. I don't know. Every time I feel like I'm kind of getting deep into the story, I realize, oh, wait, I still have this to unlock. I really am just still kind of
Chester says
learning
you
things.
kicked some serious ass during combat.
Yeah, I did.
I haven't been playing, so I would like to.
I
It's
really
just
like the combat system. Like, you can juggle the enemies and do the combos and everything. I think they did a really good job on that.
nice. Are you done?
I'd say my only complaint about the game so far is the fact that there's no stats for the brooms. Like, there's
Oh
some
yeah, you
cool
were
looking
telling me
brooms,
that.
but it's like, okay, but is this faster? Is it any better? Like, why am I gonna get this?
Yes. Take a chance.
So
I love that Lola's here,
that was
but
your issue as well. Yeah. It it's one of those small things, but it just annoyed me so much as I was playing through. Because as soon as I could get the brooms, I'm like, "Ooh, do I really want it?" And I don't want to spend, 5,000
galleons.
galleons on a broom, and then it's worse than the one I have.
So then what I need to do what I'm hearing is I need to not focus on brooms and just crank it out until I can ride beasts and then just have beasts
Yes.
and say F the brooms.
I don't think there's any stats for the beasts either.
But broom or thestral. No contest.
Fair enough.
Or that big kitty thing that I don't know what it is because it's from Fantastic Beasts, but I don't know what it is. But it's like a big kitty thing. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's a
Get
big
it at one point.
kitty.
Only got them for 100% completion. I mean, I probably will as soon as I finish the story and I go through to do all the other stuff. But for right now.
Hi, Anna.
Hello.
Lola's here, but she doesn't want to look at the camera.
I can't be evil. The most my character does is annoy people. Oh, that's kind of disappointing. I was hoping it would be like a Fable thing. You start growing horns, you look, start getting more and more evil. Could lose your nose,
Right?
get pastier and pastier skin. That
Or
would have been a nice
skeletal.
little
Get
little
some
thing.
red eyes or something,
Yeah.
Well, that kind of just spoiled and ruined it for me.
You wanted your
I
character
wanted
to
to
lose
see
its nose.
how evil can you go in the story. I wanted to really do the dark wizard
I guess
thing.
it makes no difference, just for your pleasure. You know, how much do you want to hurt the other AI characters?
I want to obliterate their soul.
I want to destroy them.
I guess you can be evil, but I think what he's saying is it doesn't make a huge difference. Probably characters just, their dialogue changes. Oh, there's the dark wizard. She didn't give me back my hat. I can't remember what we did where we searched
We went in the
the
lake.
lake for something.
Yeah. It was some kind of instrument, I don't remember. It just Oh, so you can be evil, but it doesn't change the story.
Yeah. But well, I guess there are different endings, but what Chester is saying is that the ending isn't really different.
Got you.
So I'm assuming, because I haven't finished it yet, I'm assuming it probably ends up being the same outcome. You're just on a different side. Something like that.
My friend implemented a mod which allowed the main character to Avada Kedavra everyone's ass. Every other character is like, "Oh my, you shouldn't do that," or "I don't feel so well." Lame.
You just killed my brother. That's not very nice of you.
Oh man.
I
Speaking of,
I do want to try out some mods. That's one of the main reasons I got it on PC, because I knew people would be modding the crap out of it. There's one where, actually, segue back to what I was talking about before, Shrek. You can get Shrek as a mount, one of the mods.
that makes me uncomfortable.
It looks even worse.
I
You can also turn the groundskeeper into PS1 Hagrid.
You did tell me that one.
Yeah.
I am I am fully on board with PS1 Hagrid being in the game. That I'm down with. I want to feel truly evil in my AI drama. Yes, right?
Yeah,
I
I
want to
agree.
feel the force lightning coming out of my fingertips. Like, oh, Thomas the Tank Engine instead of a broom. I
Now
like that
that
too.
makes me uncomfortable.
I don't know. A Shrek mount is really uncomfortable. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. That's disturbing. About that.
What if you could get the donkey dragon babies from Shrek as a mount? I mean, these are only the mods I looked at. If we
Oh,
want to
I'm
just dive down the world of mods, there's got to be some really weird ones.
Katie said the broom sticks out of the end of Thomas. That's even better. That's even better. Oh, that's
Oh my
fantastic.
god.
Oh man.
All right. I do love talking about Hogwarts Legacy, but are you ready?
I'm ready now. I think we've
Okay.
waited long enough.
I haven't got the game yet, but it looks really cool. The animation, everything is so detailed. So much work went into it, clearly. Oh, yeah. I mean, it looks great. And the world is huge. There was a lot of detail that went into it. That's why, like, the little things that I can nitpick about it are just that. They're little nitpicks. Like, overall, the game's really fun and really good.
Timothy says our shirts are setting us up for movie side conversations.
That's true. Jurassic Park and Jaws. I mean, two of the best Spielberg movies of all times.
Heck yeah.
But we're not going to get into that.
Nope, we are
We
not
just
here to
fell into the trap there.
this is-
Darn it.
we are not going to talk about Jurassic Park or Jaws, even though
All
we
right.
could probably talk about Jurassic Park for hours. We're not going to do that. Today, we are here to discuss how evil the Dark Lord himself is and the nature of that evil.
All right. So, what I was going to say before my segue was completely ruined, we need to start out by looking at these two characters as just people and the circumstances in which they were born.
Two characters.
Voldemort and Harry.
Oh, okay.
Because I think there's the way to understand Voldemort is there's going to be a lot of comparisons to Harry because they were both born into families without parents. They're both orphans. And we don't know fully how Voldemort was treated at the orphanage, but it probably wasn't too great. And we know that Harry was definitely abused.
Yeah, they both grew up in homes that were not loving.
Mm-hmm. But one of the things I think a lot of people miss is Harry was born into the world of celebrity, basically. Everyone knew who he was.
Well, once his parents died, anyway.
Yeah. But that was 1 year. So basically, the
Okay.
majority of
Okay.
his life.
Okay.
Everyone knew who he was. So when he got to school, he only wanted to just be left alone. You know, it's like someone born into any celebrity's
He
household.
struggles. He
It's that
struggles
old
throughout
trope.
the
Yeah.
series with
I just
his
want to be like everyone else.
Yeah, he struggles a lot with the celebrity and the being famous thing. Yeah.
But Voldemort was born to the exact opposite. He was just a no one, just someone, some mudblood born to a crazy mother and a muggle father who wanted nothing to do with him.
I don't know if I'd call her crazy.
We'll get into that later.
We'll talk about it, but I don't know if I'd call her crazy.
But then he wanted that fame, you know, he was a nobody and he wanted to reach that stardom.
He
He
I don't
wanted
know
to
if he
be
wants
different.
he doesn't want celebrity, but he feels himself as superior and greater than everyone else. And
he wanted to show himself as different than everyone.
Yeah,
Harry wanted to
he's
be the same as everyone.
yeah.
He wanted to prove that he was different.
He was special.
Exactly.
And he grows up with that feeling. You get that in the Secret Riddle chapter where he's looking at his hands and he's like, I always knew I was different. I always knew I was special. And it contrasts greatly with when Harry finds out, and Harry's like, I am just Harry. I'm not special. I'm not anything. I'm just Harry. Like he doesn't even believe it at first. And it's a very stark contrast to two individuals kind of growing up under similar circumstances and um having different responses to it.
What, you mean like the abusive family?
The like unloving home.
Oh.
Yeah, Voldemort wanted to be feared. That's what he wants.
Mm-hmm. Goes to put him with the Dursleys and try to protect him in the environment. Fame at a young age. Exactly. But I think that's like the place we need to start when looking at this, because that definitely has a lot of influence on it. Harry, you know, um, could have kind of gone the same route as Voldemort. But when he got to Hogwarts, he wanted to tone everything down. Voldemort cranked everything up to 11.
Yep.
And wanted to basically show off, be feared, get the power. And what comes with that is, once you get power, you want more. Like, there's a never-ending climb with that. So just the trajectories at which they were placed, I think, ultimately led to the difference here, and Voldemort going the evil route, while Harry, basically, who was living under similar circumstances, ended up being good.
Sorry, I'm just watching her. She's
fine.
She is, but I got my coffee right here and stuff. I'm just always felt as though he wanted to be equated with the same feared respect of Salazar, and then it grew more sinister as he got older. Getting into the psychology, Harry has an abundance of empathy, whereas Voldemort has none. Yeah,
That's true too.
Harry grows up in, for all intents and purposes, an abusive household, which could go one of two ways. And Harry has so much love to give and wanting to understand and wanting to protect. And Voldemort grows up not having any empathy whatsoever, not wanting to develop any empathy. He's physically not capable of it. Has no desire to make human connection at all at a very early age. Doesn't want Dumbledore to help him buy his school books. Doesn't want Dumbledore to be involved in any of that whatsoever. I can do it on my own. I'm fine. I don't need you. I don't need anybody. His need and desire to do things on his own and be secretive almost borders on a level of paranoia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Katie makes a good point. When Harry's at the zoo, he feels sorry for the snake. And even though Harry is living in a terrible situation, he looks at the snake and thinks, man, you have it worse than I do. He's living in an awful situation, and yet he can look at another creature, not even another human being, but another creature, and feel that empathy and sympathy, like, wow, this must suck for you. I'm really sorry. Don't think Voldemort would have had that reaction, other than he might have chatted with it for a few minutes.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of representing how Harry's life is. The snake is cooped up in this small box. Harry's cooped up in this small cupboard. Like, of course he's going to empathize with that.
I don't believe Voldemort would have empathized with it. by contrast, like Harry vanishes the glass and the snake gets to escape.
Hmm.
I think Harry vanishing the glass, letting the snake escape is kind of, like, hey buddy, it was an accident, but it kind of is I understand your situation, go be free. I think Voldemort would have let the snake go, but then he would have either like kept the snake with him to use it or would have sicked the snake on someone
Would
or
have been
something.
his Nagini. Maybe that's how he got Nagini. 'Cause if you don't want to believe Cursed Child is correct, maybe he just went to a zoo one time, saw a snake, and was like, "Hey, you want to be free? All you gotta do is take this part of my soul."
Right. Voldemort would let the snake go free for his own self-interest, not the
Yeah,
snake's. Um I don't think Nagini would have been at a zoo. She's not a real species of snake.
but she might have been, and then he, have
Modified her?
modified her, or maybe the process of incorporating the Horcrux made her more
Like, gave her venom or
weird,
something?
yeah, magical abilities. I'm just saying, if you don't want to go down the route of Cursed Child, if you go down the route of Cursed Child, we know who Nagini is.
Oh, no, you mean Fantastic Beasts.
Oh, was it Fantastic Beasts I
Yeah,
said?
Nagini's not. That
Okay.
Nagini thing isn't in the Cursed Child story.
Okay, never
It's in
mind.
the second Fantastic Beast movie, which I have not watched yet. I probably should, but someday, I guess. Ugh.
Okay. So this is why it gets complicated, because already we're 1-1 for nature and nurture.
Well, we could take it back even further, and
Because
if we really wanted to take it back further, we would talk about their parents.
well, yeah, but I feel like that. I mean, we can go there now, because there's a few different things along the lines of their parents that I think we could get into.
All
But
right, fair enough.
yeah, so definitely nature. We know he was a psychopath. He didn't feel much,
I think it was
if
very, very
anything.
clear cut textbook writing in Half-Blood Prince to show you Voldemort is a psychopath. Born psychopath.
And nurture, again, it was kind of like circumstances that couldn't be controlled. Harry was a celebrity. Voldemort was not.
But I think there is something to be said about the nature of who their parents were, how they were born into the world, and their experiences with their parents, such as they were.
I 100% agree. I feel like we should work backwards here, though, because obviously we get to the love potion, and then that is
Well,
a
we're
whole
going to
other
have to
thing.
talk about the love potion. Everyone always brings it up. We're going to have to talk about it.
No, I agree. I agree.
Um,
But
I
just
also
going through it, I feel like that's the scapegoat reason, the love potion caused him to not have feelings.
well,
Whatever.
yeah, but I think we need to say that we don't agree with that idea. I also think, um,
Young Tom Riddle making all the wrong choices. Well, yeah,
yeah,
all the wrong choices. Maybe the right ones for him.
I mean, choice is also a big part of the story,
Mm-hmm.
and Voldemort's choices and Harry's choices. Tom has multiple opportunities to make the right choice. Um,
Harry
and
was
how that.
born from love. Tom was born from an act of forced intimacy. To make me wonder if it led to the trajectory of their lives.
I mean, to put it very bluntly, Tom was a child of pretty much rape.
But
He was a product of
I think we'll get there. I
anti-love.
think we should start with the death of their mothers.
Sure, sure.
Like,
It
Harry goes on to later find out, obviously, Lily, sacrificed herself to protect him. She would die for him.
and did, right.
While Voldemort's mother just gave him up.
She gave up.
Yeah,
She totally gave up. Yeah.
she just gave him away. So, I mean, just that in and of itself could have played a huge role in the trajectory of their lives without even going down further.
Well, Voldemort grows up thinking, once he finds out he's magical, he is so sure that there's no way his mother could have been a witch, because had she been a witch, she wouldn't have died.
Mhm.
He's so convinced of this. And then he finds out, no, she just died, gave him up. Um,
A little demoralizing, you know.
yeah, his parentage and who his parents were is a big part of the self-hatred that Voldemort feels for himself. Voldemort has a lot of self-hatred bubbling up in there. Harry doesn't.
Mm. Well, I
Harry
think we can start by saying it's because Harry looks back at who his parents were,
Harry
and
knows
they fought for him.
they fought for him, and Harry knows, and he's told by multiple people, that Harry was very deeply loved and wanted by his parents. Voldemort finds out that it was a little bit different in his case. It was not remotely the same. And as far as their mothers are concerned, I think if you're gonna look at Lily and Merope, they're two very different people. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
Lily
to say the least.
Lily grows up full of love, full of confidence, she has a relatively stable, happy life and is able to be confident in her abilities and in who she is. Merope, from day one, is abused and stepped on her entire life. I don't know if Merope was 100% capable of doing anything that Lily did. They're just so completely different people.
No, I agree. But I feel like that could be a whole
It
discussion about
could.
their whole
It
thing.
could.
The fact of the matter is, what happened to Merope didn't really affect Tom directly. Indirectly, yes. At the end of the day, what Tom really remembers is the fact that his mother just gave up on him. She had all these powers, but she still just gave up. While Harry's mother had no chance against Voldemort, but she didn't give up. So just that knowledge alone sends them on these different paths.
Well, Voldemort already feels this disassociation and desire to be special before he even finds out about his parentage.
No, but I think there's not one thing that sets Voldemort.
No, but he's already on this lack of empathy. I'm better than and special.
Yeah.
And then he finds out what happened.
And I mean, we'll
And I
get to that.
I
We kind of did though.
I
That
think it
comes back to this psychopath nature.
mhm. And I think it punches it up. Because not only does he find out that his mother was a witch, but then, oh my god, he finds out his father was a muggle? Excuse me?
You think this could have sparked Voldemort's desire to be special? Um, yeah. Well, like you said, he kind of wanted to be. He had this idea that he was special before he knew about his mother,
Yeah.
before he ever knew that he was magical. I think it may have like increased his desire, to show that he was more than just his parents. His parents just gave up on him. They were weak. He wants to show that that's not him.
Well, that in
So,
combination of when he finds out who his parents were and he finds out he is the heir of Slytherin, it just is further validation that he is special. He is other, he is better, and he deserves to subjugate everyone else.
yeah, no, I agree. Felt special and different comparing himself to the other orphans he grew up with.
I
Yeah,
think,
exactly.
and this is just an idea, I think when he was young, um, he's a psychopath, right? So he's born a psychopath. You're born one. You are. How your psychopathy manifests itself could potentially be nurture. And I think what happens is at an early age, we know he displayed remarkable control of his magical abilities by the time Dumbledore meets him. He's able to control it to a certain degree and consciously use it. Whereas Harry has no idea and he has accidents all the time. Um
This kind of comes to another point I wanted to get to, so I'm just gonna segue into that, and that is
I didn't
having.
finish, but okay.
Okay, you like stop, so I wasn't sure.
No, I didn't finish. So I think when he is with the other children and he finds that he is naturally gifted at manipulating them and making them fear him and subjugating them, that's his first real taste of what it is that he enjoys and how he enjoys relating to other people. It's through fear, it's through subjugation. And once he realizes what he's doing is magic, and his first experiences with magic are I can control people, I can make people do what I want them to do, I can make them scared of me. And it gives him this feeling of I'm special, I'm better, I'm above the rest of you. And it crystallizes with that psychopathy, that lack of empathy. And I think those moments where he hangs the rabbit or does whatever he did to those kids in the cave, like all that stuff, I think those are the first moments where Tom Riddle feels something. That's joy to him. I think those are his moments where he probably really felt happy and felt this is who I am. This is what I'm meant to be. I've figured it out. I'm this other thing and I'm better and I'm special. Um and I think it probably happened when he was young. I think it happened whenever he was able to consciously realize that he can do this to people, and I think those are like the first times he was happy. If Voldemort could feel happiness. Um I believe he can feel joy. It's just very twisted.
What sparks that joy? What's interesting is that neither Harry nor Tom knows the particulars of their parentage during their early development, so it's as if Tom nurtured this darkness and Harry released it. That's true. And the point I wanted to make was basically having power at a young age when you don't really know what it is. I mean, Harry obviously had these powers, but he couldn't control it, right? He couldn't do anything with it.
He didn't know what it was. He just thought it was like just weird things seem to happen to me. I don't know.
Exactly.
My
Tom
my
had
aunt cut my hair and then it grew back the next day. I don't know.
right, but Tom didn't know what it was, but he had control over it. He could do things, and he understood that he had more power.
Yeah.
Harry didn't. And because of this, he takes advantage of it. He has more power. And could it just be that Tom figured this out at a very young age? Because in contrast, Harry does kind of the same thing. Because, what is it? Is it Order of the Phoenix when he's walking home from the playground and he's, picking on Dudley and stuff?
Oh yeah, he's giving it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if he had control over those powers at an earlier age, would he have terrorized Dudley instead of the other way around, But at the time when he kind of realizes that he has this power over the Dursleys and everything, he's been able to learn what it is. He went to Hogwarts. He's used it, and he's seen that
Oh, he
he
doesn't
has
he
this power, but there's a
in
lot of people who are greater than him.
isn't
And
it in
he,
book 2 where he like pretends to do a spell on Dudley and Dudley runs away and he's
yeah,
scared and he cries? Yeah.
that's what I mean. But he respects it more. He understands magic more because he's older when he figures out he has this power.
He's also not allowed to do it in the summer.
That too.
um so he'd get in trouble.
So could it just be having too much power without enough knowledge at such a young age? and just kind of, sparked it, and it was hard to come back from it once you get down that path.
Katie actually makes a good point because we've already discussed, like, when Harry finds out a wizard, he's just like, I can't be, I'm just Harry. When Tom finds out he's a wizard, he's like, I knew I was special. And even at 11, he already resents the fact that someone else has his name. He says there are a lot of Toms. Already showing that he feels himself to be superior to others, whereas Harry has the complete opposite reaction. He's just like, I'm just Harry. I'm just a kid, man. I'm not a wizard. Um, I think if Harry realized what he could do was magic, or realized like I have this skill and I can do these things, I I don't think he would have turned it on Dudley in the manner that Voldemort did to those kids. I think Harry wouldn't have been out and out cruel. I think Harry may have done it in like self-defense, maybe. Like if the kids were chasing him, I think he would have consciously done some like self-defense magic, but I don't think he would out and out seek them out to get them back and be mean to them. I don't think that's in Harry's nature to inherently lash out and be cruel.
I feel like
He
that
also
is
would have gotten in big trouble from the Dursleys if he had. If we're talking like 7, 8 years old on the playground kind of stuff.
well, yeah, but if he could control it, who says he couldn't, scare the Dursleys too?
I think Harry saw them as
I'm just
too
saying
powerful.
I mean, maybe, but I'm saying if you put Tom in that situation,
Oh, Tom, well, they're two different personalities, right?
But the way Harry tempered it, I mean, this is all hypothetical. I don't want to go too far down it because it's more about Voldemort. But I think then when we go down that road, we have to talk about nature versus nurture. Because let's face it, when you get into that like 6 to 10-year-old range, kids are a-holes. They don't always mean to do it, but they just don't understand what their actions or words do. Sometimes they do,
Oh, I think
but
Tom did.
they're very honest and they just don't care. So I'm saying it could be very different for Harry if he knew that he had that power. But no, I don't necessarily think that Harry would have went down the same road. I'm just saying it's another factor in the list of things that helped Tom go down that road, which was a lot of power at a very young age when he didn't really know what it was. He
Right.
didn't understand it.
Kids don't often have emotional maturity. I think kids don't often have high levels of emotional maturity. I think the difference with Tom Riddle was that he didn't have any emotion to begin with. Children also have no harmonic sound says they have no cap on what they think they can do.
Exactly.
It's limitless. While we're talking about childhood, I also just think it's interesting to note that Tom is 11 years old at this point, and he took Amy Benson and the other, I can't remember the other kid's name, to the cave, and something awful happened. We will never know what it is, but something awful happened. And with serial murder specifically, people who grow up to become serial murderers have this secret part of their inner self where they indulge in their fantasies.
Mhm.
And it's secret, it's kept separate. I think I read a book where they were talking about Ted Bundy, and Ted Bundy had this idea in his head that in an ideal world, his ultimate goal would be to have a chamber, a secret chamber, where he would have everything he would need to take women to do
whatever
What
nasty things
Well,
he
all
would.
the things he could fantasize about doing, all the things he wanted to do, and this chamber would be adorned with his trophies and all the things that he would want to relive those murders. And that is what I think the cave is to Voldemort. It was his first secret place where he could play out what it was he wanted to do. And then we see well on into childhood, he's still operating in the cave. And it just makes me wonder, like, how much planning or practicing or things did he do in the cave? Because it very much is like a little, it gives me heavy serial killer vibes,
Mm-hmm.
the cave. And at 11 years old, if he's I think whatever he did to those kids in that cave was some kind of milestone for him, whatever it was. And I think that memory of whatever that was so potent. Whatever he did to them was so potent and solidified in his brain that place became so significant. And we find out later he's got all these inferi in there. So how many people did he murder that he put in that lake? So
All of them.
it's evident that he's been coming there for years.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
doing whatever.
Yeah.
Which also alludes back to the idea of operating in secrecy to the point of paranoia.
It's his chamber of secrets.
Yes, I see that.
Same idea with the potion he later made to hide the locket. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but maybe.
Right. We don't really know what he did to
definitely
them.
to that one girl, probably, yes. But it might have just been he just, threw the bodies there.
Well, I mean, serial killers also have what they call dump sites, where they will pick out an area to leave a body. A lot of them will pick a specific area, because especially with necrophilic serial killers, they'll come back to that specific place to visit the body over and over, however many times they need to.
Is a red room, yes.
So I think Voldemort has very special connections to objects and places, and I think the cave was really formidable for him, and one of his big places that holds a lot of significance to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to know, what was you doing in there? What was you doing? I want to know.
This is where we differ, because I don't want to know.
I want to know.
It happens. Just whatever.
Okay.
Let it die with him.
I want to know.
And whatever poor soul went in there.
Lots of them, I think.
Yeah, looks like it. All right. So I kind of lost count there. I think we're up to like 3 for nature versus nurture.
I'm not keeping track.
I'm keeping track because no one came up with like a distinctive answer. That's why I'm trying to break this down piece by piece so we can finally know what was it. I mean, there were multiple factors that played in, but which do we think played in more? So, where did we leave off?
I mean, I
think we were talking about the mothers, but I think now we need to just talk about the families in general.
Okay.
Because obviously Harry came from two people who loved each other very much.
Who also came from families who loved each other very much. We learn that James Potter's parents had him older than they were older, and that they doted on him and loved him to the point where he was kind of a spoiled rich kid at school and kind of a dickwad. But that they loved him very much. And we also learned that Lily's parents loved her so much. They were so proud to have a witch in the family, almost, I think, to the detriment of their other daughter.
Definitely. Petunia didn't turn out all right.
No, Petunia needs therapy. But they both come from very compassionate, loving households and fell in love and created a very loving, compassionate household. Ropey Gaunt, not so much.
So do you think there's like a genetic?
I think in the case of Tom Riddle, there could be an argument for some biological genetic component. Psychopathy is
I guess we could.
biologically, genetically, you are more predisposed to be a psychopath if it's in your genetics. You I want to say it's the amygdala is slightly different. It's formed differently in psychopaths than it is other people. Like, you can look at a map of a psychopath's brain and see how things are just hardwired differently. That's at birth.
Oh.
And I think in the case of Tom Riddle, you had generations and generations and generations of people inbreeding. So if that element was in there somewhere in their genetic makeup,
never getting out.
It was there. I think you certainly had maybe some displays of antisocial personality disorder with Orphan Gaunt, which is used to be called sociopathy, but they don't call it that anymore. And then you had Tom Riddle, who we don't really get much about other than he was the rich kid in town. And he was kind of snotty. We don't
basically
really know anything.
Muggle James Potter.
Yeah, like, we don't really know anything about him other than he was this very rich, handsome young man. That's really all we know.
Oh, I agree, Anna. I think that it probably wouldn't have turned out any other way for Voldy without extensive therapy either. But
yeah, but you'd have to get Voldy to go to therapy, and Voldy didn't think there was anything wrong with him to get to that point in the first place.
And hey, genetics. Voldemort was right. You had a witch and a wizard have a child. He turns out all right. But then you have a witch and a muggle. Their child turns out to be a psychopath. Voldemort was right all along.
I mean, if you want to kind of go
obviously.
on that tangent a little bit, his own mixed blood is the reason why he has pure blood mania in the first place, I think. Anytime he sees anyone of mixed blood, he's reminded of his own heritage, and that's the part of himself that he really hates. So I think his pure blood mania is fueled by a reason to stamp out those that remind him of his muggle everyman heritage.
Mm-hmm. Get Draco, he was loved very much by his mother. Like the Black family, perhaps it was always meant to be.
Draco, I think Draco is very much loved by his mother, and I do think Draco's father also loves him very much. I think both of his parents very much loved him. Draco shows what happens when you are raised and indoctrinated with a certain ideology. And at the end of the series, Draco sees how toxic and dangerous this has all become and realizes he's in too deep and this isn't what he wants. And Draco demonstrates how when things happen and you get older and you understand more, that you can start breaking away from those things. Because I do think Draco did grow up in a loving home. It just was toxic and tainted by this pureblood ideology and yuckiness.
Yeah. I feel like the Malfoys kind of show the middle ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Toxic family, but very loving at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, Draco
'Cause
very
they
much...
love Draco to death.
they
No one
really
can,
did.
deny that. I definitely don't think people are always a product of their environments, but as for why they aren't, that's a big question. I agree. I don't think people are always a product of their environments. I think definitely people can be born with certain traits that kind of push them one way or the other. And then their environment can either help to develop that or change that. But yeah, I don't think it's purely one or the other.
I think becoming a... I think to a certain extent, people definitely are a product of their environment. They either fall into it or they reject it.
It all comes down to education, what you learn from your environment, really.
This is true.
And even that can be skewed just by your perspective on your environment.
Katie says two identical twins can grow up in the same environment, become very different. On the other hand, they can be separated at birth and grow up to be very similar people. It's all about the environment that you were raised in, and how you respond to it.
Hey, Vane.
I think Anna is illustrating this perfectly with the Black sisters. You had Bellatrix, who went way far off in one direction. You had Andromeda, who rejected completely the ideology and like blacklisted herself from the family, which is also what Sirius did. And you have Narcissa, who kind of just quietly towed the family line and just the Black sisters kind of remind me of the in dysfunctional families, each sibling plays a specific role. So like obviously the Black sisters aren't Sirius's sisters, but in their household, Bellatrix was probably the hero child, following along in the ideology and really going gung-ho for it, way, way deep. And then you have Narcissa, who's kind of like the lost child in the middle of all of this, not really a lot of attention, just kind of meandering through it all. And then you have Andromeda, like the rebel, totally going against in every way. Those are traditional hallmarks of the children of dysfunction.
Yeah.
Harm, don't do it.
4 siblings, and we're all very different. Yeah, I have 3 siblings, and I can attest. We are all very different. Although, I feel like, at least with my siblings, I mean, there's, like, common ground with, like, everyone. But overall, yeah. I'll wait till you get back till I jump to the next, because next thing I want to talk about really is going back to the parentage. And I think we need to talk about the love potion in the room. Because even though I partially think that that's kind of a scapegoat for explaining Voldemort, it definitely plays a factor in everything. There's a question in Tom's case on whether he had more of a propensity of becoming evil. Would have taken a type of trigger to ignite it. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the fact that he was a psychopath definitely, like, he was skewed a bit to the evil side. And hold on, we just dropped some frames. Make sure we're back. All right, I think we're good. Just had a little hitch, but I think we're good. Yeah, I think Tom was definitely skewed to the evil side. And I think a lot of things in his environment kind of lined up perfectly to kind of push him a little bit further. And by the time Dumbledore came to like intervene in this and bring Tom to Hogwarts and talk to him and try to change his ways, I think he was just, too far to the edge of the scale to be fully brought back. And then he obviously went to Hogwarts and got sucked into like the restricted section, dark magic and everything, and I don't think there was a lot that could have pulled him back at that point.
I do think for the most part, yeah, it's usually a combination of nature versus nurture, but with psychopaths, like they are born psychopaths. They're not going to be able to empathize, but with therapy and different things, they can learn to have coping mechanisms.
I also think if you're born a psychopath, but you're born into a loving, caring family, that can also be a huge difference.
For
Just
sure.
that alone, without
For sure.
therapy.
Good examples. Therapy in the sense of how to function as a psychopath, how to function properly within the framework of society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree, Anna. Dumbledore was not an expert on mental health issues.
No, definitely not.
I mean, this was also the 30s when Tom was going to school, so
that's true. Mental health didn't
not real
exist.
I mean, it was, but it was not real.
No, it didn't exist.
I mean, Tom asks him, like, you're gonna take me to the asylum, aren't you?
You either sucked it up or you were crazy.
So
your two options.
Even as a child, Tom already knows, like, he's convinced Dumbledore's gonna take him away.
Mm-hmm.
So he already is under the impression that they don't see me as normal, blah blah blah. I know with psychopathy, it is like your brain is structured in a different way. You literally cannot empathize or read the emotions of other human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really feel remorse for your actions. I actually, not there.
The idea of people being born in a particular way freaks me out. Maybe I just don't want to believe that's possible. It is a little freaky.
The traits associated with psychopathy are cold-bloodedness, or lack of empathy, lack of being able
lack of feeling,
violence, devoid of morals, incapable of love, and calculating. So that's the other piece of the psychopathy puzzle, is not only do you not feel empathy or sympathy for other people, but you are also able to see these people are feeling emotion, and this is how they're reacting. I don't feel it, but I can look at it and I can figure out how to manipulate it. And psychopaths are known for being extremely charming and extremely manipulative. Yeah. Tom Riddle in a nutshell. In blaring black and white.
But on the topic of what Melody says, how it's kind of scary to think that people would be born a certain way. I mean, I think people are born a certain way, but at the same time, I'm no neuroscientist, but the brain is still developing till you're 21.
Right.
Like maybe like your environment, maybe there's a way to rewire that brain. We know that, the brain can rewire itself.
I think in a case like this, you'd have to really do a lot of work to rewire that.
Like I was saying, I think there's like a gauge. Some people are born towards one way and can be easy to sway them in a particular direction, but under
I think
proper
for
environmental circumstances, I think you can always develop in.
I know that current studies show that you can't rewire a psychopath. At least not now. Maybe you can. I don't know. But at this stage, you can't rewire a psychopath, but you can certainly they can certainly learn behaviors to not be violent, to not be so negatively manipulative and things. I think being manipulative and calculating in that way is a very difficult thing to turn off because they can't connect to other people's emotions. The way that they do it is through manipulation. I can't connect with you emotionally, but I can manipulate you to go this way or that way.
Mm-hmm.
They use that instead of connecting emotionally. I think cognitive behavioral therapy could help in developing those mechanisms, but at the end of the day, the emotional connection is not there. Who knows? Maybe we'll figure something out with more research and more
I mean, that's the hope
testing.
with psilocybin. They're doing it
Right.
with like people suffering from
PTSD.
depression,
Yep.
PTSD, because it actually rewires the neurons in your brain and
Right.
helps build healthier connections and helps you disconnect certain connections that are
And
causing
build
the
new
issues.
ones. Yeah, and build new ones to yeah.
And again, I haven't
Which is
really
why
like
I'm so down for psilocybin as treatment for this stuff, because it works.
that's very scraping the top. I haven't really looked into it. I don't know much about
I've
it,
looked
so
a
I'm not
little
going to
bit.
go into
I've
it
looked
too
a little
much.
bit into it, but this is about Voldemort, not mushrooms.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying that
Well,
as
I'm
far
waiting.
as people being born nature versus nurture, people can be born one way, but I don't believe, outside of Tom, just in general, I think nurture plays a much larger role than nature in who a person becomes.
Tom says there's a third element, and I'm just kind of waiting for him to put it in there. It's
Oh,
like,
okay.
I have an interesting perspective. Okay, we're waiting.
But
In the meantime, we can talk about the love potion in the room if you would like.
yeah, let's go to that because that's like the next stop, and we kind of went off there a little bit talking about psychopaths. But it's very important to know a little bit more about psychopaths because, well, Tom is one.
Tom is one.
But do you think, we're just going to get right into it, do you think the fact that he was born from a love potion, so the fact that the love, the emotional connection that created Tom was completely fake, there was no real love there, could be a reason why he was born without emotion? Do you think that could be a side effect of the love potion?
I 100% do not.
No?
I think it's a scapegoat theory, and I actually really don't like it.
I agree that it's a scapegoat theory, but
I don't like it, and I think it's a scapegoat theory, and I do not subscribe to it even a little bit.
no?
No.
You don't think it played any role in it?
No.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I thought you were going to have a little bit more to say on that, but
No, I think his biological genetics on his mother's side played more of a role in him being born a psychopath, not the love potion. I think the love potion didn't have anything to do with him being born emotionless.
okay, we can just scrap that off of nature then.
Tom says, "Wow, the lag."
Oh, is it laggy? Oh,
Yeah, is it
I
laggy?
mean, we
Let
had
us.
one little spurt of some drop frames, but after that, it's been pretty smooth.
Or maybe he's just commenting on the fact that it took me forever to mention what his idea
Oh,
was. I mean, I'm ready for the idea. He just has not thrown it in there yet, and I am waiting.
psilocybin is so intriguing in terms of its ability to create new neural pathways. I agree. The more I've like looked into it, I'm like, this could be something huge to help a lot of people.
Anna says
I'm
she
not encouraging everyone to go out and, smash some mushrooms to the face, but I disagree too, because there are things similar to that in real life and they don't have an impact on the child.
the way that it's meant in the theory. Tom, if your theory you mentioned a long time ago, if it was in a past stream, dude, I'm not gonna remember. I'm not gonna. You gotta bring it up again, because if it was like a week ago or 3 weeks ago or 2 months ago, not gonna remember. Sorry, I'm just not, because I don't think it was in here in the right.
I don't know. I'll check.
There's a third element to the nature versus nurture thing, right? What I'm asking is elaborate on that, I suppose. Um, the love potion. So, the love potion. Merope made a love potion. She gave it to Tom Riddle for months
Mm-hmm.
on end. She got pregnant, right? And then she stops giving it to him in the hope that he would love her naturally.
Yeah.
And guess what? He did not. Basically, Tom Riddle was like date raped for months.
Yep.
Which is horrible. That she did that to him, right? That was an awful thing to do to a person.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a violation of trust and intimacy. And I also believe that given her environment, I really think she probably didn't at first really understand what was so wrong about what she did, and over time began to feel guilty about it.
Well, yeah,
Um,
obviously.
and
She definitely came to her senses at one point because she
yeah,
stopped giving it to him.
but even at that, you've got a child born from pretty terrible circumstances. They're not good when you really think about the implications of her giving this potion to Tom Riddle. It's pretty awful. Growing up though, Tom knows none of this, so it did not impact him growing up. He didn't know. And I think the idea that the love potion zapped him of being emotional or being able to empathize with others, I just think it's a cop out. I do Melody, yes. He does feel emotions. He does feel joy. He does feel anger. I mean, he doesn't feel
It's like what
emotional connection to other people. And he cannot empathize with the emotions that others feel. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
And what triggers those emotions is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because obviously, bringing a little girl into a cave and doing God knows what to her was something that brought him joy.
Yes. Made him happy.
And the average person may only feel disgust.
Whenever his followers disappoint him or he doesn't get something that he wants, he is angry. Very angry.
So let's make sure we haven't forgot anything. So this is kind of my theory about how Tom became who he was, everything that factored in. Number one, born to just parents who didn't love him. They weren't there for him. They didn't, I guess this could go on later, but either way, parents who didn't love him gave him up. So he grew up without parents, but he was also a psychopath.
Yep.
To begin with, we know this. Then he discovered this great power at a very young age where he didn't fully understand it.
He just knew what he could do with it. Right.
Exactly. Then later goes on to Hogwarts, and at this point, he's already, tipping the scale a little bit.
Big time.
Starts looking through spells and everything and finds the dark arts and starts diving more into that. Finds out who his parents were. Tips a little bit more. I feel like there was nothing that really happened to him to kind of bring him back the other way.
Hi, Melanie. Welcome.
I think Dumbledore, invited him to Hogwarts, but after that, we don't really know what Dumbledore did to try to help him along the way. So we can't really argue that Dumbledore did a lot to try to make Tom good other than, just saying, hey, Tom, welcome to Hogwarts. I'll see you around. And then saying hi to him every day,
We know Tom had a close, if you could call it close, relationship with Slughorn.
Mm-hmm.
He was part of the Slug Club.
Oh, I guess we could argue that too, because, we know that Slughorn is all about what is best for him. So, he had a mentor who kind of taught him, you gotta look out for number one, son.
Yeah. Make those good connections, keep those connections together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right?
So,
but he obviously also very clearly duped Slughorn.
well, yeah.
Had him totally hoodwinked.
But again, that can come from all the other stuff that happened to him. So I think with Voldemort, it really started out as nature. He just started out bad, right? Got the short end of the stick. And then I think he just happened to have really bad luck when it came to the nurture department too. I don't think he had any good role models. I don't think he fell under any good circumstances. So I feel like, he got, set back a couple notches at birth. And normally people will go through life and, they'll get a few notches forward, a few notches back, and they'll settle down somewhere. I think Tom just got knocked back at every turn.
I think, yeah, Voldy had no hope. Poor guy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I
don't think there was any way for Voldemort to turn out any other way than he did. I think he got that taste.
I mean,
I think he got that taste of power and subjugation, and that was it.
Yeah.
I think that was just intoxicating, along with this magnanimous idea of himself as other. I also think, the idea that his mom was a witch and she died giving birth to him, I think that had an impact on his obsession with defying death and overcoming death. I think the fact that she was a witch and she died profoundly impacted his fear of death and the idea that, well, I'm magic. I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm going to conquer death. I'm never going to die. I am better, special, more powerful, and whatever it is I'm going to figure out whatever way it is to live forever.
He wanted to show that he was stronger than his mother too.
And became stronger than everyone else.
Mm-hmm. And he got to the point where, he was stronger than all of the other students, became stronger than the teachers, became the strongest ever. What was the last thing to conquer? Death itself.
Melanie says that she doesn't think Slughorn was 100% selfish. He really felt joy out of connecting with students. He just enjoyed the perks. And Slughorn has an annoying flaw of overlooking those who weren't, in his eyes, special, connected, or talented, such as Ron.
Yeah. No, I don't think Slughorn was like an evil person or bad. No. I mean, I love Slughorn.
So Slughorn's one of my favorite characters.
I think
the impression that he potentially made, like, Voldemort wouldn't have taken the connecting with people part out of it. That Voldemort would have taken the
connect with someone who you can get something out of.
Right. I think that's how Voldemort would have seen it too. He wouldn't have seen Slughorn genuinely trying to mold and grow these people who he felt were truly talented, which he probably really did enjoy. But I think the idea of the connections and the perks and this and that's the piece that Voldemort potentially took away from it.
Yeah.
Not the good bits.
Yeah, Anna, I think you say it perfectly. He wasn't a bad person, but he wasn't a good influence.
I mean, he did tell him about Horcruxes. He did.
Bad influence.
Drop the ball a little bit there, Sluggy.
Yeah.
But
it's probably just one of those interesting topics, you know? Probably didn't think anyone would actually do it. Just, it's interesting that you can possibly do this. Great wizard.
Yeah,
would have loved to have him Slip Club.
Not his bad moment.
But I guess for me...
Thank you. Melanie said that's a good point about Slughorn.
Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't have seen the good bits. He would have only seen the things he can do that'll benefit himself.
Yeah.
Better way to manipulate people, etc., etc.
Again, if Voldemort didn't have such a bad start, I mean, he may have been able to take some of the good, but, you know, he was skewed so much at that point.
I haven't seen you post anything, Tom. He just said, would you like me to put it up for the third time, or did you not see it the second time?
Yeah,
the last thing we saw you say was, I did it a long time ago. That's the last thing we saw you put in the chat. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I mean...
We can talk about Horcruxes. I mean, why not? We don't have to... I mean...
Might begin full discussion in another video later on.
We did.
But,
we did.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Well, that video
as far as...
that video is different, I think, than actually discussing the Horcruxes and their significance to Voldemort.
But either way, on topic.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess my perspective is I would probably give it more to nurture why Voldemort is there. I think nature definitely had some... He had some bad luck with nature, definitely. But I think it's probably like 60-70% nurture.
Oh, I think it's a combination. Yeah, you can't just say it's one or the other, for sure.
I would say it's more nurture. I think it started out bad, but under the right circumstances...
It could have potentially gotten better.
Yeah.
You know what? It kind of reminds me of this. Did anyone see the movie We Need to Talk About Kevin?
No, but you told me about it.
Kind of reminds me of this. Anyone in the chat, let me know if you've seen We Need to Talk About Kevin, or We Have to Talk About Kevin.
It's crazy how much he must have trusted Tom to tell him that. Or just very drunk.
Thanks, Melanie. This is what I've been saying. I feel like he's got something to say, but he hasn't said it, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we didn't miss it.
What do you think is the third element that goes beyond nurture and nature?
I don't know. I want to hear what it is. I haven't thought about it. I've been waiting to have a conversation about it. Ganitos, I wrapped them up.
I've had that movie on my Netflix list for ages, but never got around to watching it.
I liked it. Actually, quite liked it a lot. But basically, it examines what it's like to raise a child with psychopathy. And this is a family who's very involved and wants to figure it out and is trying to figure it out, but they don't know what to do. And it's like modern day. And even though you know what a psychopath... Most people don't really know what a psychopath is. They say psychopath, sociopath, and they think they're the same thing, and they're not the same thing. And sociopathy isn't even something that's...
Psychopath is you're born like that. Sociopath is...
sociopathy...
more developed, right?
isn't listed as a diagnosis anymore, and psychiatrists and psychologists don't use the term anymore. So I just want to put that out there to clarify. What they call it now is antisocial personality disorder, and it is thought to be very much more environmentally cultivated as opposed to something you're born with. The research says that it's very much more nurture dependent than nature dependent. It's sociopath versus psychopath, and um um antisocial personality disorder, they kind of use them interchangeably, but there are some marked differences. With someone with antisocial personality disorder, the typical symptoms are a temper, lashing out, inability to keep a job, inability to maintain personal relationships, difficulty um and difficulty feeling remorse. But someone with antisocial personality disorder can learn to empathize, can learn to feel remorse. Whereas psychopaths, it's different. You also see psychopaths,
Sociopaths, their brain isn't wired to be that way.
right? So Tom has said for the third time, I have identical sisters. One is the nicest person you've ever met. One is crazy. Same nature, same nurture. Someone else mentioned this earlier in the chat. All right, now we saw it. So what's the third element? Oh, so they're there. They weren't there before. That's weird. We still don't see it, but whatever. We saw it this time.
We saw it this time.
We saw it this time. I don't know why we didn't see it in the chat before. But we saw it this time. I think, and I'm just throwing this out here, I think when it comes to identical siblings, right, what do you think the third element is? Because when I see that, my initial thought is you're two different human beings, so you're going to respond to your environment differently. Even if the environment is the same, you're still your own individual, and you're going to take it in a different way, in your own way, and it might be different to how your sibling takes in that environmental stimuli.
Exactly.
That would be my first off the top of my head guess, is that when you have people all growing up in the same household, they're going to react to everything differently because they're all individuals. You could have two people who grow up in a household, and this is just like a really hypothetical, one becomes an addict, one becomes highly successful. Like maybe they grow up in a dysfunctional household, one becomes happy, well-adjusted, successful, the other one's an addict. The addict blames their parents for all their problems in their life, and the other one has moved on from it and doesn't blame their parents, blah, blah, blah. See, they took in all that stuff differently and made different choices and responded to the stimuli differently. It's a very extreme example.
I was going to say,
super extreme.
A less extreme example would just be, I feel like if I had a twin, an identical twin, one of the things I would want to do is like kind of have something unique about myself. So just that alone.
Katie says she thinks it comes down to choice. Other influences of your... Anna says other influences outside of your life, like outside of family.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. You could be identical twins, but you're not going to have the same friends. You're not going to associate with the same people. I mean, or maybe you would. I don't know.
You're not going to be doing the same thing at the same time
all time.
Day, every day. Every once in a while, you're not going to be able to sleep while your sister or brother goes right to bed and you stay up, searching Wikipedia, and then you learn some stuff about some stuff.
Well, and Harmonic Sound says, I think it's something to do with personality and the way you internalize your events and then the choices you make.
Mm-hmm.
She says they took the same they said they took the same classes, had the same friends, but splintered out, were different. This is all me saying, like, I didn't grow up with siblings, so I don't have any personal reaction to this because, like, I didn't grow up with someone in the same house and we're different people. I just didn't. But that would be my guess.
I mean,
Katie,
kinda,
that's
yeah.
a good point. You can be more influenced by your friends sometimes than your family.
Oh, 100%.
Especially at a certain age.
Yeah, when you hit like those teenage years.
Your friends are everything.
Yeah.
They're everything. And can hold huge sway over the choices you made.
That's why parents are always like, I don't like your friends. You need better friends.
And then you push closer to your friends. You're like, my parents don't like you. I don't care.
That's why I guess when Ramona starts hanging out in her teenage years, we're going to be like, oh, those smart people over there? Oh, don't hang out with them. They're horrible.
Yeah, right? Those kids in the AP classes, God, they must stink. I don't want you to be friends with them.
If I ever see you with them, just owning you. Think that nature is determined by something other than genetics. You can be massively influenced by friends you grew up with. Oh, okay. So Tom says that there's a third element as to what it is he can't say. That's fair. I mean, I feel like nature and nurture encompasses a lot.
It does.
To get to who someone is just.
I feel like
it's everything goes into it. Like it's hard to describe someone's personality.
I think personality and your reactions and choices based on those stimuli is probably what goes into it. We are a summation of our choices. Anna says the way you react to your environment comes down to nature. It can. I think you grow up watching how the people around you react to things, and you either maybe react in a similar way or you learn, I don't want to react like that. I don't want to be like that. Did we want to talk about the Horcruxes?
Yeah, why don't we touch on it? Because we've gone way off into a psychology live stream now.
Why not? I mean, I feel like you can't talk about Voldemort without talking about psychology.
I 100% agree. I just don't want to go too deep because we are obviously not experts.
We are not experts. We are not experts in the field. We do not pretend to be. These are just based off the smattering of different things that we've read and learned as we go. That's interesting, Melanie. Maybe the identical twins separated, becoming alike. That maybe it's living with someone you feel the need to be different.
That's kind of what I said, you know. When you live with someone who's an exact copy of you, you know, you want to be able to differentiate yourself, be original in some way. Even if it's just like one thing, like, oh, you're going to learn the guitar, I'm going to learn the drums.
Right. I would be convinced of perspective, except mental illness is not psychological. They say that it is a physical disability. I don't think that's 100% true. Mental illness isn't psychological, it's a physical disability.
I believe it's both.
I think it can be both. I think it depends on what it is.
You were saying that they can see differences in the brain.
It's developmental.
Psychopathy.
Yeah. But is being a psychopath a mental illness? Would you label someone who is a psychopath as mentally ill? I don't
Again,
think
I
I
think
would.
people who are smarter than us need to differentiate it, but I think there are some things that are caused by physical variations,
Right.
like obviously, like
Psychopathy. That's like
psychopathy
your
versus a sociopath.
or
Sociopath, I think, would be a mental illness because you can teach that person to feel those emotions.
at least
While
have coping mechanisms
while
to deal with
if you
it.
have a
Yeah.
psychopath, I believe it would be more of like a physical disability because their brain is just physically not wired correctly to feel those emotions. You can't change that. So there's a physical
And then
aspect
you
to it.
also have things that are pure mental illness like PTSD. Something traumatic happened to you, and this is how you've been dealing with it, you know.
But then again, this is why I don't want to go down this rabbit hole because it's so great. Because like we were talking about earlier with psilocybin and the fact that they found that it can rewire your brain and help
Right.
fix PTSD.
Right.
Because then, okay, now could it be considered a physical disability because you can physically
Physically fix it.
rewire?
Yeah.
Like I said, there's people who are much smarter than us who could probably explain
We've
this
studied
better.
this for. Melanie said that she's read that trauma can change your DNA and you can pass it on to your children. That's a whole topic of conversation that I would start getting into as far as like quantum physics and what the bleep do we know and how you can physically manipulate your body atom by atom. But that's totally way off topic. Harmonic Sound says, going back to Voldemort.
Before we do that, I just want to say, Melanie, I have seen those articles too.
I
So I know
do.
what you mean.
All right. It is interesting that his ambition led him to the desire to be the greatest on his own and to be distinguished, feared, and revered because of this godlike ability to be self-made.
Mm-hmm.
It is very interesting. And I think it tracks. I think it makes sense.
What, his godlike ability to be self-made? When you say it's like his ability, it's just a desire to be self-made, right? Like he doesn't want anyone else to help.
He doesn't need anyone else. He doesn't think he needs people. Needing people is something he sees as being weak.
Mm-hmm. So he doesn't want anyone else's
No.
help. He obviously needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want it.
I think he truly just thought he didn't need anybody. He doesn't want anybody, which kind of goes back to the idea of traits of serial murderers who operate so secretly and they don't want anyone to be let into their inner sanctum. And that's very much Voldemort. I want to hear this Horcrux theory that Melanie said. She's got some theory about Horcruxes. So
Well, knowing Melanie, it's
she
probably not
wants
as gross as yours.
Melanie sent me her theory about how Horcruxes are made, and I did read it. I just didn't get a chance to respond to it. I don't want to get too much into how Horcruxes are made because we are working on a video where we're going to talk about what we think is the way that Horcruxes are made. But when Voldy's body was destroyed, a soul fragment split into Harry. Therefore, I think you have to split your body, maybe your eyes, to make a Horcrux. So, I do like Melanie's theory. And I do think there could be some weight to it. But I think the other one, it hits the nail on the head for who Voldemort is.
I mean, I could see what Melanie is saying, and
I
it holds some water because Voldemort starts losing his physical features and stuff.
And his eyes slowly start to turn red. And I think what Melanie's going for here is the eyes are the windows to the soul.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you not have to do something to your eyes to create the Horcrux?
And his eyes become narrower and narrower.
Well, the pupils do. They
Yeah.
become cat-like slits.
But they're the windows to the soul, and as he starts losing his soul, the window closes.
Well, I think
if he split it one more time, he'd be blind.
Maybe the eyes are a symptom of what he's doing to himself.
I mean, yeah, you can, but again, that's just like a boring theory. It's just
our favorite theory. I don't know if we want to really reveal it here.
You've said it before.
I have said it before. But the Horcruxes in general are about the most serial killer thing Voldemort could be doing. And it further reveals that he has more of a connection to places and things over people.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole idea of him collecting trophies, he's been doing it his whole life.
Yeah.
At that age, he was already further along this violence continuum, already at the stage where he's collecting trophies to reminisce over the things he's done. And I think his Horcruxes are the big boy version of that.
I'm trying to think of how to elaborate without sounding gross or revealing anything. But I always felt that because he was splitting his soul, he truly was becoming another being of his own creation, something no one dared to do. At least go as far as he ventured. Maybe he was evolving into the next stage. Or devolving, started looking more reptilian. Then he was going to start losing his arms, go back to like fish-like.
Oh yeah, I know it's not. I know it's not a how. I don't know if I want to talk about the how, because it's a part of our video that we're gonna put out. I mean, I guess I could, but then you won't watch the video. There are a lot of theories about how Horcrux is created. Cannibalism, self-mutilation, all kinds of stuff. But I think how Horcrux... I'm going to try to word this in the best way I can. I think how Horcruxes are created is directly tied to his tendency to collect objects and use the objects to relive those acts he committed. And I think it's tied into the act of creating the Horcrux itself, which I think is connected to his psychopathy, his penchant for violence, his enjoyment of violence, and his disconnection to humanity as a whole.
I feel like that covers it without, revealing too much.
Okay.
That's nice.
But I do like the eye theory. I think it's a pretty good one, and I think the eye idea is probably one of the better Horcrux theories that I think I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like it a lot more than the cannibal theory. I know, not down.
I feel like regardless of the theory, I do like the fact that his eyes get smaller and smaller and them being the windows to the soul, because we know he's just splitting his soul each time, so less and less. So the eyes just get smaller and smaller and smaller.
His pupils, yeah.
I like that.
What does everyone think about the thing Hermione says about remorse is what can put a Horcrux back together? If that's not too far off topic. Okay, cool. I'm glad that tracked. I'm trying to give you a little something without giving too much away. I do think it just fits Voldemort's personality the best. That's what I think. But I do like the idea.
wonder if
I think that's a
someone-
good one, Melanie. I just wanted to let you know, like, I did read it. I just didn't have a chance to answer it, and I did like it. So I just had to put that out there. She sent
I
me this
haven't-
whole long thing, and I read it, and then I was gonna say something back, and then like had to put Ramona in the tub or something, and I never wrote back. So for that, I apologize.
I haven't read the whole thing, but I like the whole eye thing, and regardless of the way in which the Horcrux is made, I think that could definitely be a reason for the narrowing pupils and changing of the eyes.
I
so
like the
about-
remorse thing. I like that idea, that if you genuinely feel remorse, you can put your Horcrux back together. And I like the idea that it could potentially kill you.
Mhm.
I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
Oh no, you're good. I can't remember what I was going to say now.
When I've listened to like interviews with people who have committed murder, not murder in the sense of like how Voldemort or Ted Bundy potentially commits murder, but people who commit like a true act of passion, and murder someone, and then they'll interview them, and then the remorse that they feel is so overwhelming that they can't even take it. For some people, having had committed murder, then feeling the full weight of it, it's some of them talk about suicide and the weight of really feeling what they did, taking someone's life, depriving everyone of their loved one, like really feeling that. It's incredibly painful. And I feel like that tracks for how you repair a Horcrux, and that the pain of it can kill you, because I feel like that's what it's like in real life for people to feel true remorse for doing something that horrible as committing a murder.
Maybe. Do you think Voldemort would have gone back to like Tom Riddle? Like, would his nose grow back and everything, or do you think physically he's just too gone?
I think part of it would be the fact that his final appearance is somewhat based in that potion that he had Wormtail brew.
That's true. I guess
Can we just all take a minute to appreciate the fact that Wormtail brewed that potion? Was capable of doing that? I'm just throwing that out there. Like, that can't have been easy.
Under Voldemort's instructions.
Yeah, it'd be like when the teacher is like hovering over you, watching you do something, like how nervous he must have been.
I mean, the threat of being eaten by a snake can
Do
make
wonders.
you focus.
I guess so. I guess so. I think the regenerative potion would play into how much he could really go back to his original form, I guess, because he's not in his original body anymore.
He's technically a Horcrux at this point, because he died.
He didn't die.
Well, no, but it was only
The
like
soul didn't die.
Yeah, and then his soul
He just lost his body.
Yeah, but then his soul was placed into Quirrell.
I feel like the Quirrell thing is like a kind of Horcrux, not Horcrux. Kind of this weird in-between place.
Baby Nagini. Well, we don't know if it was Nagini who gave birth to him or if it was, what's her name?
I think it was Bertha Jorkins.
Bertha Jorkins.
I think it was Bertha Jorkins. She was pregnant and gave birth to baby Voldemort.
And her name is just Birth, so everything.
Yeah, less Horcrux, more possession of a body. Not really Horcrux.
Fair. But he's still just like a small piece of soul.
But yeah. But it's more possession parasite than Horcrux.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bertha, baby Voldemort. So he's not in his original body anymore. So I don't know really how much, if he did the remorse.
Maybe at this point it wouldn't even be possible for him
I don't
to.
think it would be. I think he's too far gone. I don't, even if he did start feeling remorse, I think he's too far gone. I think it would kill him.
Even outside of that, it's just because he's, you know, not really in his. He's this weird, like, mashup of magic and soul now. He's not even like a real person,
Um,
technically.
we see your comments. Um, we're seeing you comment. Sorry, Tom was like asking, "Can you see my comments? Can
Yeah.
you see my comments?" But yeah, we can see them. Melanie just said we can see them. I guess he doesn't have the best internet right now, so he's not sure.
Oh.
So yeah, Tom, you're good. We can see you. I think Voldemort's remaining main soul, yeah, was floating around bodiless. I think that's accurate. Katie says Horcruxes are supposed to be separate from the body.
Soul was separate from the body.
Right. Because his body died. Like it's a unique circumstance because his soul was so fractured.
Yeah, I know.
So it's just a funky, weird situation.
Which makes you wonder why it was that Voldemort actually died at the end. Like, why didn't he just, go off to be a floating soul again?
Well, the Horcruxes were destroyed.
But he didn't use the Horcruxes to live. He was just a floating soul. He made 7 Horcruxes, and they're all
Well, it's
there.
because
Unless he made 8.
his soul fractured and piece
Mhm.
of it went to Harry. He, instead of just dying, his soul split apart.
Yeah, but that piece of soul was still in Harry, so that other piece didn't die. It just went floating around. So why couldn't he have just, went floating around? And he killed plenty of people at the Battle of Hogwarts.
But as his remaining soul is possessing Quirrell, then it isn't a Horcrux. No, I agree. I don't think Quirrell was a Horcrux.
I'm just like playing devil's advocate here, but
I
just
think it's
questions.
because those other pieces of soul still existed.
Oh, okay.
Once all the rest of his soul was destroyed, that was the last bit. That's it. I think if the Horcruxes had still been active, then he would not have died.
See, maybe I was just thinking about it differently because I was thinking like the Horcruxes acted as like
Storage.
storage, like respawn points. This Voldemort dies, then the diary spawns a new Voldemort.
Gotcha.
Then after that one dies, Harry's head explodes and out comes Voldemort.
Oh,
That sort of
Jesus.
thing.
That was violent. Ugh. I have to pee. I'll be right back.
That's kind of how I pictured Horcruxes, I guess. Not as I guess similar to like Lily's love magic tethering Harry to life. Well, that kind of makes more sense. What if his attachment to Quirrell used up his ability to exist in that form as anything else? Maybe. But how long was he floating around afterwards before he, found Bertha Jorkins? $13
Well,
No, after Quirrell. After he leaves Quirrell's body.
after he leaves Quirrell's body, I'm pretty sure he goes back to
Romania.
Albania
Albania, that was it.
and starts possessing animals again and things. What if his attachment to Quirrell used up his ability to exist in that form as anything else? 7 Horcruxes, then himself, which means his soul is in 8 pieces. Well, right. He didn't find Bertha. Wormtail did. Right. But Wormtail went and found Voldemort,
Mm-hmm.
and then he found Bertha, and then that happened. In Book 7, Voldy has his new body. When the Horcruxes were destroyed, Voldy lost his anchor to life. I think the soul fragments dissipated or went into the next life, like the fragment in Harry.
Yeah, I think so. I was just thinking of it in a different way. Less of a tether and more as just like new Voldemorts to be born.
Like a video game.
Well, that piece of soul you went into Bertha and
For visual purposes, like a video game.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to think it, like look at it in your brain.
But yeah, pretty much. If one of his souls died, then he has another piece of soul he could then still
I got you.
wander
No, I
around
get
and
what
do it.
get what you're saying. I get it. That's true. Book 2
Mhm.
does show that the I also think though that Horcrux is his strongest Horcrux. Because
Because it
his
was his
hole
first.
it was his first, so it was only split in half.
50% Voldemort.
It's 50% Voldemort, whereas each other fragment of soul becomes half of that, half of that, half of that, half as you go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
Which is maybe why the final piece of soul that's in Harry like only made his scar burn. Maybe if it had been as powerful as the first one, it could have like kind of taken over Harry. Or,
or been more
sucked Harry.
possessive of him.
Yeah, or like basically sucked Harry's life out to become a new Voldemort like it did to Ginny. The diary did to Ginny.
Right. Maybe it would have been like a power struggle of Harry and Voldemort's soul together.
So maybe the only
like a bigger
reason
power struggle
that it was able to live within Harry without destroying Harry was just the fact that his soul was so shattered at that point. It was only a small piece. And therefore just not powerful enough to do anything really other than cause him some inconvenience. Give him a really bad migraine.
Yeah. Melanie makes a point. The stories don't specify that Voldemort is always splitting his soul in half. It could just be fragments each time.
That's true.
That's true. You could argue
I
that.
kinda
I
like-
think you could argue that based on the language used in the novels.
I don't know. I kind of like my theory as to why Harry could live with that Horcrux, but Ginny was, zapped of her strength, and that Tom came out.
Well, Katie says it doesn't specify, but the story does show that the Horcruxes are differently powerful.
Mm-hmm.
With the diary definitely being the most powerful. He was almost able to possess Ginny, and physically come to being. Yes, the diary. Yes, the diary was the first Horcrux, because he murdered Myrtle first. With most serial killers, their first murder is usually much earlier than most people think, in their teenage years, and it's usually always somebody that they know to a certain degree.
Myrtle's that one. Lucky Myrtle.
Lucky Myrtle.
Caitlin, welcome. Glad you're loving the channel. Thank you.
Yes, awesome.
Case, does that mean the stronger Harry became, the stronger Voldemort's soul became? Maybe.
Well,
or maybe it's just because it could also just be that Voldemort wasn't aware of that Horcrux, and then he grew aware of it.
I think
after Harry started like seeing through his eyes, Voldemort could sense that Harry was watching, and then he grew aware that there was a Horcrux, so then Voldemort turned the tables.
Well, I don't think Voldemort knew that there was a piece of his soul inside of Harry, but he was aware
that there was a connection.
That the connection was there. So in book 5, Harry is constantly peeping through his brain, And then Voldemort becomes aware of it and then turns the tables, and
Well, we all know what happens then.
we all know what happened beyond the veil after that. So I don't think it's that piece of soul got stronger. I think it's that Voldemort became aware of the connection
Mm-hmm.
and was able to manipulate it and use it to his advantage.
The second one was the ring.
Yep.
It was?
Yep.
Okay.
Because he killed the Riddles he killed the Riddles.
I didn't know whether that happened first or the Hufflepuff. The cup. No, the cup.
Oh no, the cup was after school.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Tom was
Well,
still
I
at
didn't
school
when he killed the Riddles.
because in Slughorn's memory he's got the ring on.
Oh, yeah.
He's wearing it.
Okay.
So he's already killed Myrtle and the Riddles.
Yep.
And or has he? Well, he has the ring anyway. He already has the ring.
And he would have had to go to the Riddles to get the ring, right?
The Gaunts had the ring.
Okay.
The Gaunts had the ring.
I was thinking Merope gave it to Tom, something like that.
No. The grandfather had the ring. He would have given it to Morphin. He would have given the ring to Morphin. And Merope had the locket. So Morphin got the ring and Merope got the locket.
Oh, okay. Fang to have pierced Harry, to have damaged Voldemort's ability to sense soul with Harry?
I don't think so. I think Voldemort I think Dumbledore explains this. Dumbledore basically says that his soul had been so fragmented at that point that he wouldn't have even known. Because
got so many of these things, I can't count
well,
them
and
all
when
now.
they destroy the Horcruxes, he doesn't really figure it out until almost all of them are destroyed because he's just split his soul so many times he can't, I don't think, can feel it. So I don't think the Fang would have done anything. I think he doesn't even know. The only reason he knows that they're stealing the Horcruxes is because Harry goes to the Lestrange vault. And when all of that breaks, then Voldemort knows.
Then he goes and checks on all of them and realizes they're all gone.
They're all gone. And that's why Dumbledore says the thing about when he starts to keep his snake out very, very close to him, then you know. Because at that point, they've gone into the vault, they've taken the cup, and Voldemort knows, oh shit. Nagins, be by my side always. Never leave me. I put you in a bubble.
Gotta keep his soul alive somehow.
I know, I didn't like that in the movies where every time they destroy a Horcrux, he's like, like
he didn't find the cup till after he's working. Well, yeah, I knew that. I just didn't realize that he killed the Riddles while he was still in school.
I'm pretty sure he did.
I believe you.
I like to think
I just didn't.
Because he does.
I didn't
he does
know
Myrtle.
what series of events took place.
I think he does Myrtle in 5th year, and then the next year, or the year after, he kills the Riddles. That's what I think.
Oh, okay.
Or
it's a taste for blood, and then he's just on it.
At that, he's already made the diary when he goes to Slughorn. And that's why he asks Slughorn, what if you were going to make more than one? I think at that point he hasn't killed the Riddles, but he's thinking, well, I got to make another one. I'm going to ask, well, what happens if you try to make another one? Because he wants to make another one. He's already made one, and now he's going to make another one. And I think that's why he's asking Slughorn, is he's preparing to kill the Riddles and make another one. Katie thinks he's in 7th year. Frank saw a boy of about 16 around the Riddle place. Right, so he was either
Oh, there it
16 or
is.
17. So, which just shows you how far down the darkness spectrum Voldemort has traveled, that at 16 or 17 he's already committed 2 murders and made 2 Horcruxes. And I like to think that he's still frequenting the cave.
Yeah, probably. He's probably done more murders than that, but he only makes the Horcruxes out of, like, you know, his really good murders.
Special
Yeah.
murders. Which ties back into my theory about how they're made. I think he plans specific murders for the Horcruxes. I think that's how his brain operates. These ones are worthy of being killed by me in person, and you're lucky that I'm going to use you to
Fracture my soul again and tether me to life.
yeah. They're all significant murders in a way. Oh, perhaps. Yeah, maybe he already killed them and he just hasn't made the Horcrux yet. I think that's possible. But like in between asking Slughorn, like he kills the riddles, asks Slughorn, then makes the Horcrux because he does have the ring.
I don't remember that part very clearly, so
Pretty
I'm
sure he's
just
got the
going
ring.
off what you say on that one.
Maybe that's a movie thing. No, I think he has the ring. Yeah. He values those objects more than he values human life.
Yeah. Well, because it's his life, technically, those objects.
Which is why I think Voldemort's whole personality and the creation of the Horcruxes is exactly why he would never have a child. Ever.
Why not? Start him out young, you know? All right, son, this is how you make a Horcrux. Let's go.
They are
Who
his
was the kid
babies.
that bullied you? Who took your crayons? Come on. Grab your binky. I'm going to teach you a trick.
I think the act of making a child is something that Voldemort would look at with disgust.
I mean, probably, but just saying, fun to think about Voldemort as a father.
He wouldn't be a good one.
No, not at all. Are you kidding me?
He would not be good. But I think the way that he's written and the nature of his evil does not compute with him having a child. Just don't think it checks out.
The Horcruxes are his babies. Yeah, pretty much.
They are. His
Yeah.
Horcruxes are his children.
He goes to Morphin, steals the ring after finding out about the Riddles, then goes over to kill the Riddles. Oh, okay.
But then goes back to Morphin to put the memory charm on him? That seems
Maybe.
counterproductive. That also seems like poor planning on Tom's part. Either way, whatever. The sequence of events is not very clearly outlined, is it?
This was
We
a
just
young
know what
Tom.
happened.
We don't know how clearly he planned things out. Obviously, he didn't plan for Harry, you know?
Well, he planned Myrtle's murder pretty well, didn't he?
Myrtle's murder was an accident. She just happened to be in the bathroom when the basilisk came out.
No, he told the basilisk to kill her.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like not kill her, but like
she was in the bathroom where the doorway to the Chamber of Secrets was. I thought he just opened the Chamber of Secrets and she happened to be in there at the time and it came out and
boom.
Yeah.
No.
Thought it was just
she
bad
opens the door and it was right there. He was standing there, directed the basilisk to the bathroom door to kill her. It was planned.
Oh, see, I thought it was just an accident.
No, he did that shit. He did that shit on purpose.
I mean, I knew he was controlling the basilisk, but I thought he was just letting the basilisk loose in the school. I didn't realize that he was...
That's right. Myrtle says she heard something
Mm-hmm.
open the door. So she didn't know what she heard, but she heard Tom speaking Parseltongue to the basilisk.
Oh.
She opened the door. Boom.
See, I thought she just heard him opening the chamber,
No.
and then I thought it was a case of wrong place, wrong time. I didn't think it was a premeditated thing with Myrtle.
It was a case of right place, right time. It was premeditated. Because he led the snake to be right in front of her door. Her stall door.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't just be sitting there.
Well,
Just
no,
chilling.
but I thought she heard it like open, and then she opened the door and looked out, and he was coming out and looked at her, and
What she says in the book is she heard the Parseltongue. She opened the bathroom door, and all she saw was a pair of yellow eyes, and that was it, and she was dead. So it was literally like right there.
mm-hmm. Again, I thought it was the basilisk, heard her opening the door, so it looked over and just. Okay, now I know.
He did that shit. He murdered Myrtle.
No one wants to be myrtled.
No one wants to. Well, no one wants to be myrtled. He steals the ring after putting the memory charm on him before going to kill the Riddles. I thought Myrtle heard the basilisk itself speaking Parseltongue. Wouldn't he have died too?
I guess as long as he doesn't look at the basilisk. Maybe he wrote on its back. So it's always
That
looking away.
big in the book.
He was a scrawny kid. I don't know.
He's very tall. He was thin, but he's very tall. Bones weigh a lot.
Either way, yeah, I wouldn't mess with a basilisk, even if I could speak to it. It's just like, don't look at me. Don't.
Well, he can control it, so he can always keep its eyes away from him at all times.
Well, yeah, but accidents happen. You gotta be careful.
You do gotta be careful. Anna's like, it's funny to picture Voldemort hiding in the girls' bathroom, waiting for an opportunity.
Right? How long did he wait?
I
Myrtle,
mean,
Myrtle. No, not her. Shoot.
I feel like Voldemort is
Just
very
crouching
methodical.
on top of the toilet so no one can see.
I feel like Voldemort is very methodical, and I feel like he staked out a good target. I feel like he probably noticed, wow, she's always going to the bathroom and crying a lot. That's the one.
Going in my bathroom.
My
the doorway to my chamber of secrets.
And polluting it with all of her blubber and tears.
I can hear it all the way down the chamber. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, it could be, maybe. Like, can't even do evil in peace. Olive, hold me, you're so rude. Oh my god, I can't take this anymore. I can't take it. I can't.
What do you think the basilisk eats?
Rats and things down in the chamber.
You think it can subsist on all that? Like, how bad of a rat problem does Hogwarts have that can sustain a basilisk for 60 years?
Myrtle will wait as long as it takes. He waited a long time in the diary memory to confront Hagrid. That's true.
Yeah.
The man can wait.
Patience.
But he waited 13 years to get a body. Oh yeah, that's right. Katie discussed that maybe it eats. Remember we talked maybe it eats the house elves.
Oh yeah.
Could.
It could.
I think it's possible.
I feel like the house elves would know though.
They might not know. They just maybe Binky disappeared one day.
Bet he found a sock.
Yeah, could be.
In his 5th or 6th year at age 16. Yeah, because it's 5th year that he does Myrtle in, right?
Yeah. She could have had a crush on handsome upperclassman Tom Riddle. That would have very much annoyed him. Harry is like the nicest guy in the world, and it annoys Harry. So I can't imagine how it would have made Voldemort feel.
Maybe Myrtle snuck into the prefect's bathroom and watched him bathe.
You never know. It's possible.
And yeah, Myrtle was a mudblood.
Muggle-born.
Yep. So all of that in combination, I think, would have just set her up for Tom to want to kill her. Like I said, I really thought it was just coincidence that Myrtle died.
No, because in order to make a Horcrux, in order to make a Horcrux, you have to commit a murder, and I think that means you have to intentionally commit murder.
Well, I think he was going to commit murder by releasing the basilisk. I thought Myrtle just happened to be the lucky one.
I think he picked Myrtle because it's a significant murder.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it is the first one.
The first, it's nothing like your first time, right?
That first taste of blood.
That first time is always so special.
Hey, Alonzo, glad you can make it live.
Never another one like it.
You act like you know this. Is there something I need to know? If I check under the house, what am I going to find?
I just feel like Voldemort gains pleasure from murder, unlike he gains pleasure from anything else. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree.
Yes, you caught alive. Welcome.
We've kind of moved past talking about nature versus nurture with Voldemort. We're talking about the Horcruxes.
We've been talking about Horcruxes for a hot minute. Yes. All right, Tom. Yes, I hope your connection is better next time as well. Have a good one. Thanks to Voldemort, Myrtle will now forever annoy the inhabitants of Hogwarts.
The worst crime Voldemort ever committed.
All the things he's done.
That was the worst.
That was the worst.
Ruin the whole school.
Ruin the whole school. The show You? Nope.
Nope. His actions were done for good. Oh, are you talking about Dexter?
I
saw the first series. Oh, so it's just show You. I'm thinking of Dexter, which is about this serial killer who goes after like other murderers and kills them.
I don't know who Penn Badgley is. Badgley? I don't know who that is.
Every villain thinks they're doing the right thing, whether or not they know it's good. That's true. That's true. I think that's the case with a lot of things. But
I don't think Voldemort cares.
Yeah, I was going to say, in Voldemort's case, I think he truly knows that he's doing bad, but
doesn't care.
It doesn't care because in the end, it benefits him.
Oh, Gossip Girl, a show I have never seen. That is why I do not know who that is. I think that's so funny. They're like, it's all from Gossip Girl. It's Gossip Girl. I'm like, yeah, no, it still doesn't help me. I'm sorry.
Gossip Girl just seems like something you would watch, though.
But it's not reality TV.
Fair enough.
Right for him. It's the right thing for him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That I agree.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Voldemort. I mean, I think he illustrates it perfectly when he tells Harry, "There's no good in evil. There's only power, and those too weak to seek it." I think Voldemort really thinks that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really thinks what he's doing is giving him the ultimate power and possession.
I was just thinking more along the lines of good and right, like Killmonger in Black Panther.
Where he feels like he's on the path of righteousness and his side is the right side
Yeah.
and that he's really fighting for good.
Well, that's an extreme case because even you as a viewer kind of look at it in the end and you're just like, well, he has a point. Like, it's hard to distinguish the morality of it.
Imagine being Voldemort realizing he could have lived longer if he just didn't do any of that.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's true. He only lived to be like 70.
No, Dumbledore was like 110 or
Yeah.
whatever.
Had he just, become an accountant, he would have been good. Become a teacher.
The context of him being a Muggle hater because of his father. I think Voldemort's pure blood mania and his desire to subjugate and squash the Muggles and the Muggle-borns, I think, is an outpouring of his own self-hatred and a desire to rid the world of anything that triggers his self-hatred.
Comes back to what's right for him,
Yeah.
Because that's what's right for him to make him feel better is to rid the world. So obviously, it must help everyone else feel better. Yeah, well, except the Muggleborns.
So kind of like Dumbledore's "we're doing this for the greater good" kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely peddles it that way, but I also think that's how he gets people to follow him too,
Yeah.
Voldemort is such a fake friend. He gaslights everyone into hating half-bloods when he is one. Voldemort is my favorite teenage girl.
Well, it's just, kind of a play on the whole Hitler thing.
It is
'Cause
very much
Hitler was
Hitler.
Jewish.
And Rowling has acknowledged that aspect of Voldemort's evil is based on Hitler's complex. I think it's a complex. I think it's an outpouring of his self-hatred on the world. Anything that reminds him of his humble beginnings, his less than ideal parentage, all of that, he wants to strike it down and erase it and get rid of it.
Exactly.
Because it triggers his self-hatred. People like Myrtle, Hermione, they trigger that.
His parents were not pure blood, and they were awful. So therefore,
Well, his mom was a pureblood.
Well, they weren't both pure blood.
Right. They weren't both pureblood.
And that relationship was awful. Therefore, I need to show everyone else that no matter who you are, if you have a mixed relationship, it's awful.
People who think they're pure end up murdering people who they think are impure.
He needs some therapy. Oh, he needs a lot of therapy.
Don't know how much it would help, but it couldn't have hurt. Couldn't have hurt, I guess.
Well, you said there's no therapy in the wizarding world.
There is no therapy in the wizarding world.
They just obliviate.
Hence why Cho Chang had so many problems. She couldn't go to therapy.
They kind of do. Because Lockhart was in that one ward in the hospital, helping to rehabilitate him.
But those are for magical maladies. That was a magical thing done to him. They don't have a PTSD ward.
Well, they should. I mean, maybe
they have someone hit you with a memory charm ward, but for
they're old school. They're just like, oh, you're having issues with past memories, obliviate. Guess what? Now you don't. There'll be 500 galleons.
Throw it all in the pensieve, and then you don't have to think about it anymore.
Right? They just suck them all out. That's
Yeah.
honestly probably what a magical therapist would do. Just start pulling out memories and see, we don't need this, don't need this. Just throw it in a jar.
Oh my god. Feisty. Um, Katie says they probably use magic to remove bad memories, but don't want to talk about feelings.
Oh yeah, who wants to do that? Yuck.
No one wants to
Feelings.
talk about feelings.
Why would we talk about feelings when we can just forget about it? Do share, Alonzo.
When you have magic, you would use shortcuts.
Exactly.
Yeah, very true.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie. Why would you care about bad memories if you could just go in and bloop?
I don't know.
Consequence-free lifestyle.
Um, trying to think.
Although maybe that's why pensieves are so rare, because everyone was doing that, and they're just like, all right, society isn't going to work this way. Destroy them all. Leave a couple just for, the lucky few. What if wizards acted through plays and pulled out memory into a pensieve so other wizards could watch it in 4D? That would be pretty cool. It's like
movies.
It's like a IMAX, but better.
Better. We talked about his childhood, we talked about his parents, we talked about the Horcruxes, nature versus nurture. I'm just trying to think if we talked about everything.
I feel like we touched on everything that makes Voldemort Voldemort.
Okay, I'm just
Like
trying
I
to think
said,
if there's.
my final verdict was that he was about 30% nature and 70% nurture. I think it was just all bad. That's what made him. There was no good to help him. Like we said, we don't know to what degree Dumbledore tried to help him because he didn't really talk about it. What he did, he said he tried to help him, but what did he do? Was he just nice to him at Hogwarts? Did he just invite him to Hogwarts and hope that everything would work out, or what?
I think Dumbledore realized the potential dangers of Tom Riddle not going to Hogwarts and not being able to hone his abilities.
Yeah, I know, but is the help that he gave him to stop there? We know that with Harry, he kind of intervened and taught Harry a lot. Did he do the same with it?
Maybe he didn't with Tom and he learned his lesson.
That could be. That's what I'm saying. That's the only possibility of anything good happening in Voldemort's life to help push him in the other direction. Everything else that happened was pretty much influencing him to become evil and an awful person.
I don't know if I would say it's 30% nature. I think it's more.
I don't think so, because
I think it's higher.
It's just that he was born a psychopath. And after that, I think it was just all circumstantial that just kept pushing him further to the dark side.
I know, but I feel like that nature plays a heavier. I don't want to say 70-30 or 50-50. I'm not really sure.
I know, but it's just that one thing, I think. I'm giving that 30% weight.
Katie says 70% nature, 30% nurture. Alonzo, we actually talked about all of this at the beginning of this earlier in the stream. His psychopathic tendencies as a child and the trophy keeping and all that. We talked a lot about that earlier. You're catching us kind of towards
the end.
Towards the end a little bit. Yeah, Harry also had the Weasleys. He had Hagrid. But Harry also had the desire for that. Harry wanted that. Voldemort didn't want that. I'm sure if he wanted it, he could have found it. If he desired it, he could have found it. He didn't want it.
Falls back to one of the first things I talked about, where everyone wanted to help Harry out. He was the celebrity. He was the boy who lived. Tom didn't have that. So he had this desire to prove himself.
Dumbledore offered, like, I'll help you. I'll take you to get your school books. We'll do this. We'll do that.
I feel like it was just too late, though.
Oh, at that point, for sure, it was way too late. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think so. Harry had a year of normalcy, family life, and family friends during his first year and 3 months of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
And Harry just also wasn't born with psychopathic tendencies.
He also wasn't born in an orphanage in the 20s.
You could argue that he had it worse. We don't know what went on in the orphanage, but I mean, Tom did have a bigger room than Harry had.
He did.
So
he had his own wardrobe.
yeah.
He didn't live in one. I agree. I think it would have taken a hell of a lot of nurture to change Voldemort's path. Like, it would have taken a lot. And I don't even know at that point.
I feel like if he had the support that Harry had, I think he could have changed his path. But I just don't
Maybe
think
he
had
wouldn't
that.
have been, like, the sweetest guy.
But he wouldn't have been the Dark Lord either.
No, but maybe he wouldn't have ended up being the Dark Lord.
Yeah. Because I think if
Tom wasn't necessarily abused.
Yeah.
But his needs were not met. I think the line is that all the children looked well scrubbed and clean, but it was very clear that this was a grim place to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously was not a great time. I think the kids were probably washed and fed, and they had a bed, and they had the essentials that they needed, but they didn't
at the same time, there's just so many kids. I mean, that's all you can give them.
Yeah, right. You can't give them everything they need. You can give them the basics. You've got food, you've got a place to sleep, you've got clothes.
Yeah.
And that's really about it. But
I
would think those children could have formed bonds with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And gotten some of the emotional connection with each other, and Tom just had no desire for it and just...
I just think that if Tom had happened upon a Weasley and had
Weasley
had the same experiences that Harry did with, like, a loving family, and you have Hagrid, you also have McGonagall, who was very much a motherly figure to him, Dumbledore, who was
his mentor.
Yeah, I was going to say kind of fatherly, not really though, mentorish.
Don't forget about Snape. Snape was a very influential on Harry.
Could be argued positive, negatives. Could have gone either way with Snape.
It was both.
Yeah.
It was both. It's gray.
But I think that if Voldemort had all those good circumstances that Harry had, I think he, like you said, I don't think he would have been the greatest person alive, but I think he would have been all right.
He would have had to have been intervened upon really early. I think by the time he was 11, it was too late. And I know I keep going back to serial killers, but...
See, I think he would have not been a serial killer. I think by that time, if he had the intervention, he wouldn't probably been the nicest person, but, he would have been, like, evil in the same way that,
Jeff Bezos is evil?
Jeff Bezos or, Elon Musk is evil.
They're pretty evil.
Yeah, but they don't have bodies
in a
cave somewhere.
All right.
Give them some credit here,
okay. All right?
Well, that we know of. They got enough money to hide that.
Right.
Private island just stacked with bodies.
I think by the time Tom was 11, it was too late. And I know with a lot of violent people who are violent like Tom, Like, the early intervention has to be early, because a lot of them will commit their first murder by the time they're 14 or 15, because they've been so consumed by their inner fantasy world of secret desires that it's so fully fledged in their heads by the time they're that age that pulling them out of it is very hard.
I'm gonna stay optimistic, but either way, Harry's basically locked in a cupboard. He wants to prove himself to himself, you know what I mean? I think he never wanted friends and love like Harry did. Therefore, I don't think he could have been saved.
Yeah, he doesn't want dependency on anyone else. He at this point sees human connection as a weakness. He wants to transcend humanity. That's his whole deal. And Harry is sitting here like, I just want a family. That's all I want. I want a family.
Tom would have murdered someone who treated him like Snape treated Harry. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I don't think Tom would have been down to be treated like Harry. Although I bet Tom
Hey,
would have
Snape.
known what a Bezoar was on the first day of class. I'm just saying. I feel like Tom would have known some of that
Hey,
information.
Snape, can a Bezoar fix this? Avada Kedavra.
Yeah.
Is that how
Say
it goes?
no.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Don't think a Bezoar is going to help anyone at that point.
That's about all I got. I mean, I think what Katie said, it was 70% nature, 30% nurture. I'm leaning the other way. I think I'm gonna stick with that for now.
Okay.
Like I said, there's just too much on the nurture side to negatively affect him. Because the only thing is that comes with nature is basically the fact that he's a psychopath, and that's about it. And if you want to do the scapegoat route, it's the fact that his mother used the love potion. We kind of both agreed that
That's not real.
it's too easy.
It is too easy.
Doesn't dive as deep in. Though, to be fair, it could have had an impact. But that we don't know enough about love potions to know and the side effects of them.
I'm going to say no.
Either way. I'm going with, 70-30, maybe 60-40.
Okay.
Nurture versus nature. What about you? How do you sway it?
I'm not. I don't know if I can give a percentage on it. I think that's.
You don't have to give a percent, but just like
I think it's.
extremely nature, not so extremely nature.
I think it's a
not
heavy.
At all.
I think it's a heavy combination of both.
I mean, I agree, but we could have said that at the very beginning. But now that we're at the end, we've had this discussion.
I think it's a very heavy combination of.
So you think it's just
both.
50-50?
Or
you think one has more sway?
I think his nature has a little more sway to the degree that at any time he could have made a different choice. Of any kind. And he always makes yucky choices. I think what I think when he started messing with those kids when he was a kid, he found pleasure in that was something that I don't think he could replicate elsewhere, and I just think that was it. I think that was the end of it. I think he innately in his being enjoyed hurting and subjugating and derived pleasure from that. And he knew it. He knew that was his thing. Um, and I don't know that a loving home or good teacher guidance or whatever would have changed that in him. That I also think that's part of what makes him irredeemable. Is given different circumstances, would he have been a different person? I don't think so. I think if he'd had the Weasleys in his life, he would have seen them as easy to manipulate into doing what he wants them to do. I don't think they would have shown him love and affection, and he would have necessarily started to take that in to his own being. I think he would have seen them as a great tool to hang on to and use later. Like, I don't think Voldemort in his being is capable of reaching those, making those kinds of connections. So if he had had better circumstances or more encouraging this or that, I still think he would have discovered the ability to create fear and pain and been at his happiest doing that. And when you know that that's when you're at your happiest and it gives you such a rush in that way, I don't know how you come back from that. Because that is a rush of incredible feeling of power. I don't know how you shake that, regardless of the influences in your life. The nature
Yeah.
argument is starting to make more sense. The percentage I gave was just me saying it's far more nature than nurture. I think I don't think his upbringing, what it could have been, would change who he became. Voldy maybe would have seen the Weasleys as useful idiots. I think so. I think Voldemort would have looked at the Weasleys and said, dang, I could do whatever, and y'all just love me and feed me and clothe me and do everything I ask you to do because you love me. This is great.
Maybe.
I think that's how I think that's how Voldemort would have seen them. Because he views love as the ultimate weakness. I will use your love to manipulate you to get everything that I want. That's just how he sees everything. I don't know how you change that.
Well, you have him born into a loving family to begin with. Like, we're talking after the fact, but I think if you take away all the other things and you just have the nature, which is him being a psychopath, you have him born into a loving family who raises him. It teaches him early on the extent of his powers and helps him understand it, other than just giving this child immense power with no knowledge of it. I still think it could have been different.
How would it feel to grow up in a very loving family to not be able to make those emotional connections?
Just knowledge of how the world works.
Would that make you maybe resentful? Look at my family. Look at how they are. And I can't penetrate into that. I don't understand it. I don't feel what they feel.
But if you have a loving family, you're going to be able to talk to them.
Can you?
I don't know.
Would you be able to talk to your parents about the fact that everything's good, but I'm separate from this and I'm outside of this because I'm not feeling what you guys are feeling and I can't relate to it and I don't understand it?
Again,
If
I don't know.
he resents them, then maybe he wouldn't talk about it. And he would still end up going down the same way anyway. And maybe that
but
resentment would turn to hatred.
well, yeah, there's always a chance. I'm just saying he had a better chance of not turning out that way.
Right? That's I guess what I'm trying to say is he would feel isolated. Potentially, if that was his environment. Rather than feeling loved and supported, he might actually feel isolated from them.
I mean, maybe.
And then that feeling of not being normal, and then, well, I'm different.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's definitely a circumstance that could happen. I'm just saying, I think there's more of a chance that he wouldn't have turned out that way.
Fair enough. I do think regardless, Voldemort was going to be Voldemort. That's what I think. I think regardless of his circumstances, he was going to be who he was going to be.
I don't believe that. I don't think
I
that's
think
kind of
in
like
this...
a destiny belief. I don't believe that. I don't think you're born to be someone.
No, I'm saying I think regardless, Voldemort would still make the same choices that would lead him down that road. I think that's who he is.
See, I don't think so.
Okay. Also, this is in the term of literature
Well, yeah.
and not real life. So
I'm just saying, like, especially, I think the easiest thing is Voldemort had this power. He didn't know about witches and wizards, and he was just the most powerful, and he got that feeling of power, and he continued to pursue that feeling. If he had been born into a loving, caring family where he's surrounded by these witches and wizards,
but what if he wasn't?
realized,
What if he was born to two muggles?
what about a wizard, a witch, and a muggle? Either way, he has. All right, because this is the circumstances.
Okay.
He would realize that yeah, he can do all this stuff, but there's a lot more people more powerful than me, which he wouldn't have had that rush of power that he's better than everyone. It puts him more into perspective.
Or would he say, "Oh, there's so many people that have this ability too. I'm going to be the best."
Again, maybe, but it's hypothetical.
Um,
But it's more likely that I think he would have kind of been put into his place. Like, I guess the easiest thing I can relate it to is so many like high school athletes think they're like the greatest ever, right? They're just the shit. You have this quarterback who never misses. He's the greatest, beats everyone. They go to states.
That's true, Katie. He would have still known he was different.
And then, right, but no, like you have these athletes who think they're different, but then they go to college and they're playing against all these other people who were the top athlete at their school. And all of a sudden, they get very humbled, right? They get put in their place. They're not that great.
Ah, but Voldemort can still do something no one else can do. He can talk to snakes.
Yeah.
So that there would have still made him feel different and special. I can talk to snakes. No one else can talk to snakes. And he did get that. He went to Hogwarts and he saw everybody can do magic.
Mm-hmm. But it's too late.
But if he could have been humbled, he potentially still could have been humbled a bit by some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not. Even a little bit.
Huh?
I'm sure there were people that he went to school with who were probably very talented.
It might not have been. He could have been like the Hermione, where he was better than everyone in his class.
I know, but even if you got Hermione, but there are still other people like at Hogwarts with Harry who are very good at different things. Like Neville is a herbology prodigy. He's not top in everything like Hermione, but he's very good at this one very specific thing.
Yeah.
Draco Malfoy is not a bad... Draco Malfoy is very talented. We just don't talk about it in the books because it's from Harry's perspective, and God forbid Harry give Draco credit for anything, but Draco's very talented. He fixed the vanishing cabinet. He successfully learns occlumency, which Harry could not do.
Mm-hmm.
He's very talented. So there would have been people there who probably could have given him a run for his money.
Probably not in his first year though. And
No, but he would have seen upperclassmen.
You only
and
compare yourself to the people around you.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
There's always the excuse with upperclassmen. Oh, they're older than me, so of course they know more than me. It's the same with why when you're in high school and you're playing a sport and you're the best, like you're not comparing yourself to the college people or the professionals because it's like, oh, they have more experience than me. But I'll get there someday.
He would have probably tried to conceal his behavior, but sooner or later he would have chased the rush again. Even if they told him the way he was using his powers was wrong, he would still have felt good hurting people. Melody said Draco ended up fine, even with an awful environment.
Same thing happened to very intelligent people going from high school to college. It happened to me too, actually. It wasn't necessarily that I found the stuff difficult, but the manner in which they taught it. Like in high school, I have a very good memory, so I would just go to class. They
memorize everything.
Yeah, they would just tell us what to do. I never had to write down my homework or anything. I could remember everything. I remember everything we talked about in class. And then comes the test. Just, all right, go through. Bam, done. Pass. But then you get to college, and they're just like, all right, so you need to know everything in this section of the book. All right, see you Monday. Wait, what? So I didn't know how to study at all until I got to college because I never had to. So then it was a whole thing when I got to college, and it was very stressful. It's like, how do I do this?
I was very Tom Riddle / Hermione about my intelligence, so maybe I shouldn't talk about it.
You're always reading and studying everything.
I was always reading and studying everything, and when I got to college, I took classes. There were a lot of instances where I thought, "Oh man, okay, I'm going to be amongst my peers. I'm going to be able to have real conversations with people and be on the same level as people." And this is going to sound terrible, but I remember thinking things like, "Wow, you guys are all very stupid." Jeez. So that
Yeah, but that was your freshman year of college.
never went really away. I mean, maybe if I go to master's, get my master's degree, maybe it'll be a little bit different. But
I was just gonna say, like freshman year, I mean, you have the mixture of people. You have people who are there to actually learn, and then you just have the people who are like, I came to party and party hard.
I'm just saying I never
I
had
knew so
had
many
that.
people that literally never attended a class, but never missed a party.
That I'm just saying I think I can understand Hermione and Tom Riddle's shoes a little bit by not being humbled by all of that. So it doesn't happen to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um
It's a big shock to self-esteem. Yeah, it's rough when you're at the top of the class and then all of a sudden, oh, darn.
I'm
I
not in the
can't just memorize anything anymore.
Yeah, I prepared. I studied, I read, I knew how to do that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I knew how to read and everything, but I never had to use flashcards to remember vocabulary words.
I didn't do that either.
I never had to look up the meanings of stuff because I just remember it when I was reading through.
My studying was not what my studying was not what most people
Or
did
I was
when they
also
studied.
just good at taking tests.
There is that too. I mean, if you can take a test, you can take a test. Pure, plain and simple. It doesn't matter, right?
That's another thing in high school. A lot of the times, like the answers to later questions are in
The first part of
the
the test.
questions of the earlier questions.
Yeah. If you know how a test is structured, you could ace a test,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of subject. Yeah, that was me. I was getting 100 on everything all the time. That was me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was just, I studied, I read, I studied, I read. I didn't have a life. That was what I did, was school.
Show off.
I'm just saying, like, I think that was, um, that's Hermione. I think that's who Tom Riddle was. Studied, he read. He studied, he read. I'm gonna be the best. I'm gonna be the best. I'm better than all of you, and I'm gonna own you all. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's who he was. And he blew through it all, and then he started finding the darker corners of the magic, and he was like, "Ooh, ooh, this is the good shit."
Well, I guess we're gonna agree to disagree on this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mm.
That's fine. We got off on a school tangent just now. We weren't even talking about Voldemort. I guess other than like I could relate to that drive,
Yeah.
that hunger that he had for the information, which is very
Slughorn
similar to Hermione's.
Slughorn had said that the only one student before Harry was worthy of Felix Felicis. Tom Riddle, Severus, or Lily Evans. I think he would have said if it was Lily Evans.
Right? I feel like he would have told Harry
Yeah. So
at some
it's
point.
definitely Snape or Tom Riddle. I want to say Snape just because when it comes to potions, I think he would have mopped the floor with Tom Riddle.
Oh, probably.
Tom Riddle was a very gifted student, but I think Snape just was. When it comes to potions, I think Snape is just better.
I think Snape was incredibly gifted with potions. Pure, plain and simple.
I guess I think it would be Snape because he's definitely the best. But I
Oh.
would also argue that maybe it was Tom Riddle that he gave it to, and then he just stopped giving it away because he realized he had made a huge mistake.
Dumbledore! I've made a terrible mistake, Dumbledore.
Maybe it was the Felix Felicis that led Tom Riddle to being in the exact spot that he needed to be to kill Myrtle at the right time. Maybe he didn't wait around. Maybe he just
They're in the common room, and Bellatrix is like, "Tom, where are you going?" "I'm going to the girls' bathroom." "Why?" "I've got a really good feeling about going to the girls' bathroom right now."
Exactly. Like that would
I've
be
got
great.
rewrite
I love
rewrite the
that
chapter.
in your mind, Bellatrix is just like, oh, okay, have fun. Not like, which one is it? So I never go in that one.
"Can I come with you?" "No, that doesn't feel right to me. It's got to be me, alone. Got a good feeling about that too." Mm.
Conversation. Sorry, I forgot off your topic.
Oh, it's
Rachel.
fine.
It's okay. We always get off topic.
It happens.
Hope you have a fantastic
Yes,
day.
thank you for popping in. It's been great to see you in the streams the last few times. You're always full of good conversation. Now I want Voldemort on Felix Felicis. I want that.
I think it would have said that if it was Snape. Yeah, see, that's another thing. I still think Snape is the only one who was good enough. But also the fact that he didn't tell Harry leads me to believe that it might have been Voldemort.
Right, I
'Cause
feel like
you feel a little
Slughorn
guilty
would have
about
said,
that.
Why, the last time, it was your very own potions master. He was the last one to win it.
I feel like Slughorn maybe would have spilled the beans on that.
Or maybe he just doesn't really like Snape. So he didn't want to, talk him up at all.
I feel like could have been Voldemort. Slughorn has a lot of shame and guilt over Voldemort, so
That's what I mean.
he might not have. I feel like he definitely would have told Harry if it was his mom, for sure. I know, but it's funny with Bellatrix being there. But she's right. Bellatrix is too young to be at school with Tom.
Runs into Hagrid instead of Bellatrix. Where are you going?
I'm going to the girls' bathroom, Hagrid.
Okay.
Got a really good feeling about it.
Tom, I don't need to know why you're going there. I'm sorry I asked. Just go. I've got a spider. I mean,
A what?
nothing.
I don't
Got
know.
a-
Maybe right here is the place I'm supposed to be right now before I go to the girls' bathroom. I'm very curious about magical creatures, you know. Hagrid.
And you know, if you told Hagrid, he would just open up. You are?
Yes.
Oh, well, let me
very
tell you
much.
about this one I got.
Oh, please show me. I would love to see it. Tom just walking down the hallway after.
I think with Lily in the same class, Slughorn maybe underestimated Snape. That's true. I mean, we know Lily was really good at potions.
Well, there's
Did
also
she
been
give Snape a run for his money?
well, there's been suggestion that was Lily really good at potions, or was she really good at potions because Snape helped her?
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Gave her all the little tips.
Maybe. Snape
Maybe she was that good, but
doing her homework for her.
was he her Hermione?
Maybe. She was the Ron.
I mean,
She was a redhead.
she was a redhead.
She was a Weasley. She wasn't really a Weasley, but she was a Weasley.
Thank you for checking my homework over for me, Severus. Lily, you do realize that that quill you've been using has caused you to write your name Lilu Evons. What?
On that note, I think
I think we probably ought to go. Because now we're just getting silly.
we've
and
exhausted our
we've talked so much about Voldemort.
Our
I feel
Voldemort
like my
information.
soul has been split into two.
Well, okay. So, I guess thank you all for joining us. It's been fun.
It has been fun. I have enjoyed talking about one of my favorite characters in the whole series.
I don't think we really came to a conclusion whether
I
it's
think
nature versus nurture, but
I think we
I
concluded
think it's
that it's
hard
both.
to. Yeah, I feel like it could go either way. I think it's just hard to determine. That's what makes Voldemort an interesting villain, I guess.
Yes.
Just the pure evil fact that he just. We
I-
did figure out that he never had a chance, though.
I do think I didn't mention this before, but I do think one of the things that's important, and I think this was one of the reasons why Rowling wrote it this way, is that it's not just important to identify evil, but in order to defeat evil, you have to understand the evil and the why, and the where it comes from. If you don't understand where the evil comes from, how can you really properly defeat it? I think that
You must
is
stop it at the source. Love potions.
ban them.
It's all the love potions' fault. That's it. You guys do a live sometime soon talking about all the young dudes. Yeah, actually, we wanted to do one where we kind of gave our final thoughts on all the young dudes because I feel like it warrants a review for doing all the young dudes.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there was definitely mixed emotions while we were reading it. So, and I don't think we ever gave like a full conclusion now that we've had some time away from it and to think about it.
We could
So
definitely.
we'll definitely do it.
All right. Thank you, everybody,
All right.
for coming.
Have a fantastic day, and we will see you guys Thursday.
See you Thursday.